Chapter 51. The girl swung her sword. The seemingly ethereal sword intent actually contains an extremely terrifying sword intent. What? Heaven, heavenly venerable realm 8 stars. Feeling the terrifying aura on the girl's body, Qin Jianyi and the other man's faces changed drastically, their eyes filled with horror, and they raised their swords to resist. However, the next moment, Frost Stegosaurus, accompanied by the girl's soft murmur, sword intent transformed into a ferocious frost dragon and slammed into the two men. Puff! With a spurt of blood, the two men fell heavily on the discussion platform and lost consciousness. The seemingly powerful twins of Tianjianmen were no match for the girl's sword. Not bad, not bad. A place for the soul. Seeing this scene, Suya nodded with satisfaction. That's the right thing to do. This woman really has the posture of the great emperor. In the past, he would always kill his opponents with one move, because only in this way could he prevent them from using any of their trump cards. It's not that Suya is afraid that they can't defeat them by using their trump cards. After all, for him, it's just a matter of one more slap in the face. The reason why he wants to stop them from using their trump cards in one move is because if they waste their trump cards, what is he going to grab? The surroundings of the Dao platform seemed to have fallen into deathly silence. Everyone was stunned. They all looked with disbelief at the girl in white dress who was slowly putting away her sword on the discussion platform. What? Luo. Senior Sister Luo, Venerable Realm 8 stars? In an instant, the faces of all the disciples of Xuanyan Holy Sect and the strong men from various prodigy forces who came to discuss the Dao changed drastically, and they took a deep breath. Venerable Realm 8 stars. This level of strength is comparable to the unparalleled genius of the top 5 forces. This Junior Sister Luo has actually reached the 8th level of the Venerable Realm. Ye Qinghuan's expression at this moment was extremely interesting. He, who was ranked 3rd on the prodigy list, was only at the Venerable Realm 4-star level, while Junior Sister Luo, who was ranked 6th, was 4 small realms higher than him. What the hell? What the hell? And at this moment, the most shocked was Yan Yun. He thought he knew Luo Qinghuan was awesome, but who would have thought that the girl in front of him would once again break his perception? No. Didn't Junior Sister Luo achieve Venerable Realm 5 stars when she was in Kunlun Realm? It's only been less than 10 days and she has made another breakthrough. Yan Yun was full of questions. Isn't this too outrageous? On the high platform, the other 7 peak masters of Xuanyan Holy Sect all stood up in astonishment, looking at the master of Frost Sword Peak in astonishment. You old immortal, you actually secretly hid such a monstrous disciple and deliberately concealed it from us. Frost Sword Peak Master. This I don't know either. Yu Ji's eyes were also filled with solemnity. The stronger Luo Qinghuan was, the stronger the powerful being who protected him would be. Cough. This sword intent is a great candidate for sword training, now. The old eyes of the drunken sword great master were shining as he looked at the girl. He couldn't help but say, Master Yueji, why don't you lend this little girl to my heavenly sword sect for a few years? In a few years, her sword intent will definitely reach a terrifying level. Tsukihime. I think this girl is pretty and talented. She is a perfect match for my saint child. Why not marry her? It just so happens that the relationship between our two sects is. Aside. Yang Hua Sacred Venerable also took the opportunity to speak. You guys don't have to think too much. However, Yu Ji shook her head, her beautiful eyes fell on the girl, and she said calmly, Qinghuan has been valued by the Divine Palace. As for the reason, I can't say more certainly. She was just using the Tai Shang Wangqing Palace as a cover. After all, with that powerful person around, if she dared to ask Luo Qinghuan to do anything, wouldn't that be courting death? What? The shrine. The Supreme Palace of Forgetfulness. As soon as these words came out, the expressions of Yang Hua Sacred Venerable and others changed suddenly, their eyes filled with deep surprise. Tai Shang Wangqing Palace is one of the top 5 forces in the Desolate Heaven Realm, a top force formed entirely by women. Unexpectedly, such a terrifying force has already set its sights on Luo Qinghuan. Then forget it. Yang Hua Sacred Venerable smiled awkwardly. Since Luo Qinghuan was already valued by the Supreme Palace of Forgetfulness, he would naturally not be allowed to have any feelings for her. Besides, their saint child was also somewhat unworthy. So yeah, how is it? I'm awesome, right? On the platform, the girl slowly put away her sword, not paying attention to the surprised looks of the people around her. She just couldn't wait to show off to Suya in her mind. Sharp. Suya was generous with his praise. Then he said with a smile. But compared to your brother yet, there is still a gap. The girl pouted her lips, clenched her fists, gritted her teeth and swore to herself that she would take revenge on Suya when he had a physical body. She would not be satisfied until she bit him hard. At the same time, in Suyi's mind, the system sound suddenly sounded. Luo Qinghuan showed no mercy. Congratulations to the host for reaching 50 black points. Luo Qinghuan defeated the enemy with one sword. Congratulations to the host for obtaining 50 blackening points. Luo Qinghuan amazed the audience. Congratulations to the host for reaching 50 black points. As the system voice continued to sound, Suya had already gained a full 1,000 blackening points. Suya clearly sensed that a small tower had appeared in his soul's danshan. The tower was about 9 stories high. This is... When he saw the small tower, a look of confusion flashed across Suyi's eyes. He actually had a sense of déjà vu, but when he thought about it carefully, he couldn't figure out why. And just when he was curious about the function of this small tower, he saw that the blackening value that could reshape his body turned into wisps of black gas and poured into the small tower of the soul danshan. However, the 1,000 blackening values that poured into it only filled up less than a corner of the first layer. This is... Does that mean that if I want to reshape my body, I need to obtain enough blackened points to fill up this 9-story tower? The Futu Demon Tower and the Futu Demon Body Pill, the two seem to be related. When Suya saw this scene, he couldn't help but guess in his heart. The system quickly confirmed his idea. If you want to reshape your body, this amount of blackening value is not enough. Suya frowned. As Luo Qinghuan's blackening degree increases, her actions can speed up the acquisition of the host's blackening value. At this time, the system added very considerately. Suya nodded slightly when he heard this. Brother, it's your turn. Luo Qinghuan raised his eyes and looked at Wang Yu, who was not far away. All the prodigy's theories had been discussed, and only Wang Yu was left. Wang Yu was silent for a moment, feeling the terrifying aura of the girl. He gritted his teeth and mustered up all the courage in his heart. Isn't it just the 8th star of the Venerable Realm? What's so scary about it? At worst, use all your trump cards. Tell my dad, I, Wang Yu, am not a coward. Junior sister Luo, I give up. Wang Yu got angry for a moment. Chapter 52. Wang Yu is not stupid. If you can't win but still fight, that is not bravery, that is stupidity. You will lose face and get beaten for nothing. If you admit defeat, at least you will only lose face. What is face? Can I eat it? Compared to mustering up the courage to discuss the truth with the girl in front of him, it is obviously easier to muster up the courage to admit defeat. When Wang Yu finished speaking, there was an uproar around the discussion platform. No one expected that Wang Yu would choose to give up without even trying. Since young Master Shanyu has admitted defeat, then Luo Qinghuan wins this discussion. Is there any prodigy here who wants to discuss the Dao with her? At this time, on the high platform, Yuji raised her eyes to look at the prodigy and asked calmly. As soon as these words came out, the entire discussion platform was surprisingly quiet. Yuji was stunned for a moment before she realized that almost all the prodigy had lost to the girl in the white dress in front of her in the previous discussion. She immediately announced. Since there is no one left, Luo Qinghuan has successfully defended the ring. After her saying, her beautiful eyes fell on the girl. Qinghuan, after the Dao conference is over, you can go to the main hall to claim your reward. Thank you, Master. Luo Qinghuan nodded slightly. Qinghuan, I didn't expect that you have mastered so many attainments. This really surprises this Peak Master. The Master of Frost Sword Peak also looked at the girl and sighed. Replying to Peak Master, Qinghuan only knows a little bit. Hearing the words of praise from the Lord of Frost Sword Peak, the girl's face turned red, feeling a little guilty. After all, Suya helped her comprehend these great daos. Puff. Upon hearing the girl's blushing words, the prodigy who had just swallowed the Dao heart stabilizing pill bought from Yan Yun, vomited blood again, and their Dao heart was shattered again. A little bit. One move can surpass all their efforts in this life. They probably don't want to hear the words a little understanding again in their lifetime. Ah! Are all the fellow Daists okay? Did I use too much force just now? After all, I only know a little bit. I didn't expect that just knowing a little bit could be so powerful. Seeing everyone bleeding, the girl explained in a panic. Strangeness. Stinky Suya clearly said it. He just helped me understand a little bit of the truth, not much, only a rough understanding. Puff. As soon as these words came out, the prodigy were bleeding. Grass. Is she afraid that they won't die? And they're still chasing and killing me? Hiss. Seeing this scene, everyone from the Swanyan holy sect gasped. Why did the seemingly harmless girl feel more like a female devil? Alright. Qinghuan, there's no need to say any more. Go to the side and rest, waiting for the second enlightenment phase of the discussion to end. Seeing this, Yuji said quickly. She was afraid that if this girl said a few more words, all these prodigies from various forces in the eastern wilderness would be killed here today. Yes, the leader. Luo Qinghuan nodded and walked towards the rest area. As they watched her approach, the surrounding Swanyan holy sect disciples' eyes were full of admiration, and they quickly made way for her. Senior Sister Luo is so awesome. He almost fought alone against all the prodigy in the eastern wilderness. And at this moment, the discussion on the Dao platform is still going on, but it is far less exciting than before. After Yan Yun and Yaking Ai finished their discussion, he immediately ran over. Although he was beaten up by Yaking Ai and his face was bruised and swollen, his face was full of smiles. Junior Sister Luo, oh no, Senior Sister Luo. He waved at Luo Qinghuan and even adjusted his position. Luo Qinghuan looked straight ahead and ignored him. Girl Luo, why are you ignoring him? Suya raised his eyebrows and glanced at Yan Yun who was jumping up and down beside him. This guy tried to steal my stuff last time, but I didn't want to deal with him. Luo Qinghuan shook his head. Suya. Is this girl so vindictive? Then wouldn't everything I did to her be recorded in this little notebook? Waiting for me to reshape my body and bully her back? Think of this. Suya couldn't help but smile. When I reshape my body, if this girl dares to bully me back, there will be only one outcome, and that is to be counter-killed. No matter whether you are the great emperor or a god, you will be spanked. This guy is here to give us money. Since you don't want to care, let brother Ye come. Suya smiled and said meaningfully. Send money. The girl was stunned for a moment, then nodded slightly. Then you go ahead. Isn't this a good idea? Suya touched his nose. Luo Qinghuan. After a while, hearing someone's evil laugh, she finally reacted. Her pretty face flushed red and she instantly turned into a steam girl, biting her silver teeth and with mist in her beautiful eyes. Stinky Suya. Shameless scoundrel. Wivu, yellow garbage, get out of my head. Ha ha ha. Suya laughed. The daily bullying of Luo Yetu is dealt with. As the saying goes, it's better to bully the little white rabbit as early as possible. What if after Luo Yetu has turned evil, Heavenly Dipper does something to him? Alright. Let your brother Ye come. As soon as Suya finished speaking, the shy look in the girl's beautiful eyes immediately turned into a cold look. He just watched it. Yan Yun is an out-and-out profiteer. In order to deal with the unscrupulous businessmen, it is necessary for him, a ruthless bandit, to take action. Senior Sister Luo. Senior Sister Luo. Yan Yun was still shouting. What is it? Suddenly, the girl raised her eyes and looked at him with cold eyes. Feeling the girl's gaze, Yan Yun's face changed, and he felt a terrifying and suffocating feeling of oppression falling on his body. It took him a long time to recover. That was just... What's going on? Is it an illusion? Yan Yun was stunned for a moment, shook his head, and then said, I'm here to share the spoils with Senior Sister Luo then. He just told her what had just happened. I see. So Yan Yun fellow Daoist wants to split these spirit coins with me 80%. Suya narrowed his eyes. Yes. Yan Yun nodded obediently. Then my suggestion is that fellow Daoist Yan Yun give me all the stolen money. You know Elder Xian of the Swanyan Holy Church, right? He specializes in selling elixirs. If he knew that you dared to buy elixirs in his territory, I'm afraid, it would be difficult for you to walk out intact. After all, Elder Xian is very fierce. What? Is there such a thing? Yan Yun's face changed. If the fellow Daoist doesn't believe it, Just wait and see. Suya said. He turned around and looked towards the high platform where Elder Yanyun was, and waved at Elder Xian with a smile. Hey! Qinghuan girl! Seeing that the girl was greeting him at this time, Elder Qiyan immediately smiled and waved. Seeing this, Yanyun also wanted to say hello. However, as soon as he stretched out his hand, the smile on Elder Qiyan's face immediately disappeared and turned into a serious expression. Seeing this scene, Yanyun felt a chill in his heart. Does that old man really mind me selling pills on his territory? Hiss. He's not going to beat me up, is he? Otherwise, why would he smile at senior sister Luo but be so serious and scary to himself? Then let's give all these spirit coins to senior sister Luo. Thank you for the reminder, senior sister Luo. Yanyun gritted his teeth, made up his mind, and immediately gave all the stolen money to the girl in front of him. After sighing that the girl was so kind, he gestured with his empty hands to Elder Qiyan who was not far away. It means giving it all to her. Seeing this scene, Elder Qiyan showed a look of doubt. What is this silly boy doing? Yanyun had no idea that Elder Qiyan was always so fierce towards all his disciples, and would only show a kind smile to the girl Luo, who had a monstrous pill refining talent. Unexpectedly, Elder Qiyan is also part of Su Yi's trick. At this moment, as the first round of the discussion ended, Yu Ji on the high platform looked at everyone and said calmly, "Next, we will proceed to the second round of the discussion, the enlightenment phase." Chapter 53. As Yu Ji's voice rang out, everyone on the Dao platform looked towards the platform. "Girl Luo, keep these spirit coins. They will be useful in the future. Your brother Ye has logged off." Suya gave some instructions and returned the control of the body to Luo Qinghuan. After all, as a currency of profound heaven continent, spirit coins can also be used to purchase some cultivation resources, martial arts techniques, spirit weapons, and the like. Having money and not using it is different from having no money and not using it. Luo Qinghuan glanced at the bag of spirit coins in his hand and fell into deep thought. Zhou Suya is indeed a gangster. In the blink of an eye, he took away Yan Yun's hard-earned spiritual coins, making Yan Yun feel that he had made a huge profit. Immediately, she put away her purse and looked towards the platform. Now, Yu Ji opened her red lips slightly and spoke again, "The second round is enlightenment. In the past, enlightenment was achieved either from instruments or spirits, but this time it is different." She smiled mysteriously. Then he clapped his hands. The next moment, a white-haired elder of the Swanyan holy sect appeared on the discussion platform. He waved his hand and an ancient bronze coffin appeared on the discussion platform. "This is a coffin." Seeing this scene, everyone frowned and their faces changed. This ancient bronze coffin looks lifeless and gives people a strong sense of oppression. It does not look simple. This thing is called the soul-calming coffin. As for its function, it's just as its name suggests. Su Kim explained with a smile. Soul-calming coffin. Hiss. What a vicious coffin. Hearing this, the monks around took a deep breath, their eyes filled with deep fear. This item was obtained from the storage ring of a powerful demonic cultivator that this cult leader killed. There are many wronged souls of monks in this soul-calming coffin, which have been refined by the demonic cultivator. And this enlightenment is to let you try to understand the way these monks practice. Not only can you gain enlightenment, but you can also save these wronged souls. Su Kim explained softly. Oh. Understanding the path of the wronged souls can not only gain enlightenment, but also help the wronged souls to be liberated. The leader's action is truly kind, a great kindness. All the monks suddenly realized and couldn't help but praise Yu Ji's great kindness. Relieve the dead souls. Luo Qinghuan frowned slightly. She farted. Absorbing the enlightenment of the residual souls is fine, why talk about high-sounding words like salvation? No matter what you do, these monks have been suppressed by the demonic cultivator and are dead and can't die anymore. It's impossible to transcend. Suya crossed his arms and said unhappily. But for me, this is a sacred place for cultivation. Suya glanced at the soul-calming coffin and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Tsukihime is such a good person. Knowing that he was practicing the soul technique, I was worried that he had no place to devour his remaining soul. He. Unexpectedly, it actually helped him. Girl Luo, later you. Suya began to whisper to Luo Qinghuan. Hearing this, the girl nodded her head frantically and took notes. All right at the same time. On the high platform, Yuji looked at the prodigy and said in a cold voice, "It's just that this soul-calming coffin is a bit weird. If one's realm is not high enough or one's mind is not firm enough, one may go astray. Therefore, only prodigy who have cultivated to the venerable realm can touch it this time." As soon as these words came out, suddenly, there were fewer prodigy members who could participate. Only the prodigy from the 4 first-rate forces and a very few prodigy who happened to break through to the 1-star heavenly venerable realm had the opportunity to touch the soul-calming coffin and try to attain enlightenment. Alright. Activate spirit chi, walk forward, reach out and touch the coffin, then feel it with your heart. Yuji glanced at the dozen or so people who could participate and spoke softly. "Yes, Master." All the participating prodigy nodded, and then walked towards the soul-calming coffin. Luo Qinghuan was naturally also in the crowd, but the prodigy who were participating in the enlightenment at this moment looked at her with some fear. Senior sister Luo talent was so terrifying, could they really compete with her in enlightenment? But leader Yueji also said so. There are many residual souls in this soul-calming coffin. Even if we take a step back and say that senior sister Luo's talent is terrifying and can be called a monster, it is impossible that they cannot sense it with their own souls, right? Call. It should be fine. The prodigy comforted themselves in their hearts. Start to feel it. When everyone was sitting around the soul-calming coffin, Yuji on the platform immediately spoke. Hear her words. The prodigy no longer hesitated and touched the soul-calming coffin. Suddenly, a cold and irritating feeling burst out from their minds. Many people's faces turned extremely pale and they screamed subconsciously. Ah! Hiss! What is this feeling? It feels like my soul is being torn apart again. Just a momentary touch. There were a few prodigy who had just broken through the venerable realm who screamed, loosened their hands instantly, and fell to the ground in pain, directly declaring their failure in enlightenment. Although Wang Yu and others on the side were not as miserable, they also had solemn expressions and persisted hard. This is a soul-suppressing coffin, which has a suppressive effect on souls. There are countless souls in the soul-soothing coffin, and they are filled with great resentment. On the high platform, Su Kim explained. Seeing this, Luo Qinghuan frowned slightly, took a deep breath, and then placed her jade hand on the soul-calming coffin. When her little hand touched the coffin, she was obviously a little nervous, and her little face was extremely serious. But when she actually touched it, she found that there was no such thing as coldness or the feeling of soul tearing. Hey! Could it be, I am a genius? The girl put her hands on her hips. You are prodigy. Looking at the innocent girl, Suye rolled his eyes at her unhappily. Besides, with such a big remnant soul in your body, do you think you would feel this way? Oh! The girl pouted. Don't let others feel proud for a while. Snort. Stinky Suyet. Alright. Girl Luo, your brother Yet is going in. Suye glanced at the soul-suppressing coffin in front of him. Is it really okay? The girl was obviously worried. Suye just told her that when she touched the soul-calming coffin, he would enter the coffin and start his own buffet. Although she didn't know what a buffet was, wasn't it dangerous to enter the soul-calming coffin? After all, Suye is also a soul, and the function of this soul-calming coffin is also to calm the soul. If you underestimate your brother Yet, you will be spanked. The girl subconsciously wanted to cover her butt. Don't worry. If your brother Yet can be intimidated by this thing, then just let him be intimidated. Suye laughed and signaled her to relax. After giving the girl some instructions, he turned into an imperceptible golden light and rushed into the soul-calming coffin. Inside the soul-calming coffin, the sky and the earth were dark. It seems like a world of its own. The lonely wandering souls in the wild are all drifting. Seeing this scene, a light flashed in Suye's eyes. Don't panic, everyone. Brother Ye will save you immediately. Chapter 54. Inside the soul-calming coffin. Looking at the souls, Suye's eyes flashed with a gleam of light. For him, this was simply a perfect sacred land for cultivation. Immediately, without any hesitation, he raised his hand and activated the soul power in his hand, which turned into a pitch-black Suana. He activated the soul formula, and a sad Suana tune started to devour the souls around him. And at the same time, outside the soul-calming coffin, ugh! Ye King I and other prodigy had already overcome the chilling feeling in the soul-calming coffin that stung their souls. They were all sweating profusely and their faces were pale. They took a deep breath before they sensed themselves entering the soul-calming coffin. We have suffered so much. We can't just go back empty-handed, right? Everyone gritted their teeth. When they perceived something in the soul-suppressing coffin, their eyes suddenly lit up. They saw many residual souls in the soul-suppressing coffin, and above each residual soul there was the great Deo Deo rhyme flowing. Seeing this scene, the prodigy's eyes were filled with joy. This hard work paid off, then. This group of prodigy is ready to comprehend the Tao of these residual souls. But suddenly, at this moment, boom! Suddenly, a Suana sound with a sense of sadness rang out. Yeking I and other prodigy were stunned, and subconsciously looked towards the place where the Suana sound came from. However, the next moment their pupils suddenly shrank, and a look of astonishment flashed in their eyes. Just see where their eyes look. I saw a dark soul standing in the sky. My face couldn't be seen clearly and my figure was as ethereal as chaos. A Suana appeared in his hand, and the sound of the Suana came from his hand. And under the Suana, the wandering souls in the entire soul-suppressing coffin were stunned for a moment, and kept gathering towards it. Then Yeking I and other prodigy clearly saw a look of awe on the faces of these residual souls. This. What's going on? What's the situation with that soul? It actually gives me a feeling that I can't see through it. Is this Le Deo? I have never seen such a terrifying Le Deo. Is he also one of the enlightened souls in the soul-suppressing coffin? Seeing this scene, a look of astonishment flashed across the eyes of all the prodigy, and then a hint of heat flashed across their eyes as they looked towards the dark soul. This soul doesn't look simple. What if I could absorb it, and comprehend my own path? Think of this. The prodigy entered the soul-calming coffin and immediately sat cross-legged, trying to sense the dark soul. And at this moment, Suyat, who was using the soul technique to devour the remaining soul in the soul-suppressing coffin. On the contrary, it's Heavenly Dipper. Are you planning to target your brother yet? Get out! Suya was not as good-tempered as Luo Yetu. With a wave of his hand, the consciousness of the prodigy were instantly shattered and they were directly expelled from the soul-suppressing coffin. Outside the soul-calming coffin, Yeking I and others were full of questions and opened their eyes in confusion. What the hell? Were they bullied by a remnant soul? They were a little bit surprised, but they were also more certain that the dark soul was not simple. Then they got excited and decided to fight for their lives. They concentrated their consciousness again and entered the soul-suppressing coffin. However, when they regained consciousness and entered the coffin again, the situation here had changed drastically. What the hell? Where are all those remaining souls of enlightenment? Inside the coffin, there were originally a large number of enlightened souls, but now not a single one could be seen. Only the dark soul remained in the sky. This. What's going on? Why did all the enlightened souls disappear? Could it be that they were all devoured by that soul? Yeking I and other prodigy frowned. Now there is only this dark soul left. Even if he doesn't want to comprehend it, he has to do so. Then, the prodigy felt ruthless and rushed forward immediately, wanting to use their own methods to enlighten the dark soul. However, this dark soul was extremely strange. No matter how hard everyone tried, they were unable to make it attain enlightenment. Even he was also tortured by that soul. It's just horrible. But just when the prodigy's consciousness was being tortured to death by the dark soul, a graceful figure in a white dress suddenly emerged from the space of the soul-calming coffin and blasted out with a palm. Then, under her extremely terrifying strength, the dark soul was actually blown away by a palm. Luo. Junior sister Luo. Yeking I and other prodigy were stunned. My fellow brothers, please step behind me. I will protect you. The girl's face was full of seriousness as she spoke to the prodigy. Thank you very much, junior sister Luo. Upon hearing this, Yeking I immediately breathed a sigh of relief, with an expression as if he had been saved. No, you're welcome. The girl tilted her face slightly, then coughed solemnly, and a holy white light appeared in her hand, instantly covering the dark soul. Everyone step back, I will purify it. Hiss. Junior sister Luo is so gentle. What a nice guy. Seeing this scene, Yeking I and other prodigy couldn't help but sigh. Soon, under the holy light of the girl, the dark soul let out an unwilling scream, and finally seemed to be purified by the girl and merged into her body. See this scene. Ye Qinghuan and other prodigy looked solemn, and then thanked the girl in the white dress profusely. I didn't expect that such a vicious soul would be born in this soul-suppressing coffin, and it actually devoured all the other souls. If it weren't for the help of junior sister Luo, I'm afraid that my consciousness would also be devoured by the vicious soul. Puff! Evil spirit! Hearing Ye Qinghuan and the others address her, the girl couldn't help wanting to laugh. She suppressed her smile and shook her head slightly in a serious tone. Brother, you are joking. And at the same time, Suya in her mind muttered unhappily. Pooh! A bunch of trash from the venerable realm, just a wisp of broken consciousness. Your brother yet is not the kind of person who would eat trash. That's right. This was just a play that the two of them had decided on from the beginning and directed and acted in themselves. The purpose is to allow Suya to reasonably and smoothly devour all the residual souls in the soul-suppressing coffin. The world owes two people two little golden men. Girl Luo, your brother Ye should go into seclusion for a while to digest the power of these residual souls. Suya said. Just disappear. Wait until everyone realizes and exits the soul-suppressing coffin. The eyes of the people around on the discussion platform immediately turned over, somewhat curious about how much of the soul's Dao these prodigy had comprehended. How is it going? On the high platform, Yuji looked at him with her beautiful eyes and asked calmly. Replying to the leader. Ye Qinghuan bowed, sighed, and said with embarrassment, we haven't even realized a trace of the Tao. Yueji frowned slightly. What? So many prodigy, but no realization of the Tao. I can do it too. When Ye Qinghuan said this, there was an uproar around. What's going on? Yuji asked coldly. This is the leader. Ye Qinghuan quickly told Yuji what happened in the soul-suppressing coffin. You mean, a terrifying evil spirit was born in this soul-suppressing coffin, and it ate up all the remaining soul of Dao Rime in the coffin? Even your soul consciousness was almost killed. Hearing Ye Qinghuan's words, Yuji frowned even more tightly. This soul-calming coffin was originally obtained by her from demonic cultivator. Demonic cultivators' methods have always been cruel. It is possible that this soul-calming coffin gave birth to evil spirits and monsters. Then how did your soul consciousness escape? Yuji glanced at Ye Qinghuan and the others and found that their spiritual consciousness had not been seriously damaged. This. Ye Qinghuan scratched his head somewhat embarrassedly. This is all thanks to junior sister Luo. Senior sister Luo. Hearing this. On the discussion platform, everyone's eyes subconsciously turned to the girl in the white dress beside them. Chapter 55. Everyone was stunned. Unexpectedly, the most crucial person turned out to be senior sister Luo. Just at this moment, wisps of black gas emerged from the girl's body. This is. Could it be that the innate sacred body is purifying the evil spirit? Seeing this scene, Yuji frowned and couldn't help muttering in her heart. Senior sister Luo is such a good person. Sacrificing yourself and disregarding your own safety, senior sister Luo is so righteous. See this scene. The surrounding disciples of the Xuanyan holy sect couldn't help but sigh. Hearing these words, the girl's face turned red. Seeing the girl's blushing face, everyone sighed at how innocent senior sister Luo was. However, the girl's face was not shy and blushing. But I feel a little embarrassed. Because the black gas that was gurgling out was not purifying the so-called evil spirit, but the evil spirit was refining those residual souls. Although there were some problems during the enlightenment phase, Qinghuan performed very well. I will grant Qinghuan the qualification for the secret realm of the magic weapon. I think everyone should have no objection, right? On the high platform, Yuji announced the winner of the final prize of this conference. As soon as these words came out, all the monks around shook their heads. Who else could object to this? During the discussion session, senior sister Luo almost single-handedly fought against the prodigy from Eastern Wilderness, causing them to spit blood and their Daoist hearts to be shattered. During the enlightenment phase, one disregards one's own safety and purifies the evil spirits that are nurtured by resentment in the soul-calming coffin. This forced them to submit. Senior sister Luo is kind-hearted and has great integrity. Qinghuan. The secret realm of the divine weapon will be opened in less than half a month. You should be prepared during this period. The sect will notify you then to go to the secret realm of the divine weapon. Yuji's beautiful eyes fell on the girl and she reminded her. Yes, master. Luo Qinghuan nodded. Hearing this, Everyone around looked at him with envy. That is the magical weapon secret realm. If I could obtain a magic weapon that suits me, I would never have to look for a spirit weapon again in my life. Alright. Then let's end this discussion conference here. It has been several days since the conference ended. Suya had been quiet for the past few days, and had been practicing in seclusion in the place where his soul was contained. Luo Qinghuan went to see him from time to time, only to see that black air was coming out of his body. Seeing this, the girl was a little bored. He took out the soul pen and drew a turtle on his body. The host has devoured the remaining soul in the soul-suppressing coffin, and his soul power realm has been improved. His current realm is the 9th star of the creation realm. At the same time, in Suyi's mind, the system voice sounded. His soul power realm achieved another breakthrough and has reached the 9th star realm of the creation realm. 9 stars in the creation realm. As long as you achieve great power and become a saint after reincarnation, you can touch the threshold of the emperor realm again. Suya murmured. Some expectations. It seems that there are only a few realms, but as a person who has been through it, he knows that the further you go, the harder it will be to break through. Call. I don't know how Luo girl has been doing in the past few days when I was away. Suya took a deep breath and opened his eyes. As soon as I opened my eyes, I saw a small soul in a white dress, holding a soul pen and drawing on my body. For a moment, there were 4 pairs of eyes. I was caught instantly. The girl glanced at Suya guiltily and quickly hid the soul pen behind her. Suya, you're awake. Suya. He silently looked at the various strangely drawn turtles on his soul body. 3 black lines appeared on his forehead. He looked at the girl with a kind face and a smile. Girl Luo, what are you doing? The girl pretended to be dead. Then, Suya saw a light bulb flash by next to her little soul's head. I'm not Luo girl, I'm Zhou Suya. It was Zhou Suya who came on the list just now. The girl turned her head slightly and said with a serious look on her face. Suya. Okay. What a person I am not. This is the soul body space, the place where souls are contained. I can't get in. Suya said silently. Little soul in a white dress, Ovo? Immediately, her little brain was working rapidly, and she thought of something Suya often said. I, Luo Qinghuan, acted this way. Why should I explain this to you? Suya was silent for a moment, then took a deep breath. The next moment, moan. As the girl felt the touch on her buttocks, her face turned red and she immediately glared at Suya in embarrassment. What are you doing? Suya, pinched your butt, why should I explain to you? Suya just said lightly. Luo Qinghuan. At this moment, she clearly understood why the old saying goes, old ginger is still spicy. Girl Luo, have you obtained the qualification for the secret realm of the divine weapon? Suya stopped bullying the girl whose pretty face was red as if bleeding, and spoke seriously instead. Luo Qinghuan nodded slightly. That's fine. Suya nodded. As long as he obtains the qualification of the secret realm, he can go to see his old friend and learn from him what happened in the tens of thousands of years after his death. When will the secret realm of the divine weapon be opened? Less than half a month. Luo Qinghuan replied obediently, and then seemed to think of something. That's right. I haven't received the reward for the Dao conference yet. Oh. Then don't forget this. Let's go. Suya raised his eyebrows. Okay, Luo Qinghuan nodded obediently. These were all hard-earned gains by her and Zhou Suya, so she couldn't give them up. P.S. I was halfway through typing when an earthquake occurred. I was determined not to stop typing, so I held back and didn't run away. It was quite scary. Chapter 56. Soon. The two of them were returning from the hall after receiving the rewards from the Dao discussion conference, and the girl had a sparkling storage ring in her hand. According to the elder, the rewards for the Dao discussion conference are all in this storage ring. When they returned to the small courtyard on the mountainside of Frost Sword Peak, Luo Qinghuan immediately closed the gate, and then walked to the peach tree in the courtyard and sat down leaning against it. Girl Luo, come and see what good stuff you have. In my mind. Suya urged. Yet. The girl nodded obediently, and then a dazzling light flashed from the storage ring in her hand, and a pile of rewards that looked like a small mountain appeared before her. Wow! Suya, we're making money again. Seeing the hill-like reward, the girl's eyes lit up. This was the result of her and Suyi's hard work. Good. This Swanyan Holy Church is not that stingy. Suya nodded with satisfaction. Let's see what we have. Yet. Hearing this, the girl squatted down in front of the hill and began to count the rewards one by one. And Suya just watched silently. Oh. Are these some spirit medicine seeds? It just so happens that there are some blessed lands in the Kunlun mirror. The spirit chi is extremely rich and the soil is extremely fertile. It is not a problem to use it to cultivate spirit medicine. Suya raised his eyebrows and said when he saw Luo Qinghuan taking out a few spirit medicine seeds from it. Girl Luo, your brother Ye will go first. If these spirit medicine plants are not planted immediately, their growth may be affected. The girl nodded and left the room obediently, accompanied by the changes in the look in his eyes. Suya has completed the login, and then he waved his hand, and an ancient bronze mirror appeared in his hand, with the imperial power condensed in it. It was the imperial weapon Kunlun mirror. Ever since Suya got the Kunlun mirror last time, it has been hidden in his soul. As Luo Yetu is not strong enough to use the imperial weapon Kunlun mirror, she can only let him log in to activate the Kunlun mirror. What a pity! This Kunlun mirror has been damaged and cannot fully play its role as an imperial weapon. Now it can only be used as a self-contained space. It would be great if it could be repaired. Suya frowned and sighed. Immediately he took a step forward. The Kunlun mirror was enveloped in light, instantly bringing it into its own space. After arriving at Kunlun territory, Suya quietly logged off and returned control of his body to Luo Qinghuan. Although we have obtained the Kunlun mirror, it is a pity that we are still a little late. It is said that many of the good things of the Kunlun Great Emperor in Kunlun have been looted by the 5 top forces. Luo Qinghuan took a look at the huge Kunlun territory and said with some regret. That may not be the case. Hearing her words, Suya smiled and shook his head. The girl looked puzzled. Suya explained. When Kunlun mirror was damaged, it activated the owner protection mode. What the 5 top powers looted was just a small amount of stuff. Most of the good stuff in the Kunlun mirror has been sealed inside. We can get it by just repairing the Kunlun mirror. It just so happens that my control over the Kunlun realm has improved a bit recently, and I can remove a seal. Come on, before you plant the spirit medicine seeds, your brother Ye will take you to open the treasure. Suya laughed. Good baby. Hearing this, a certain girl from Luo pulled at her collar guiltily, as if trying to hide the treasure she was wearing. Soon. Follow the path directed by Suya. Luo Qinghuan appeared in front of a light curtain. This is. Seeing this scene, a hint of doubt flashed across Luo Qinghuan's beautiful eyes. She had often come to Kunlun realm for training before, but this light curtain in front of her was the first time she had seen it. This is the Kunlun mirror's protective light screen. You can only see it after you have conquered the Kunlun mirror. If you haven't conquered it, you won't be able to detect it even if you are the Great Emperor. Suya explained. Protecting Kunlun and the treasures that the Great Emperor once collected can also be considered a way of protecting his master. Girl Luo, just tap the light curtain and it will open. Luo Qinghuan nodded slightly, then walked to the light curtain with light steps, stretched out her slender jade finger, and lightly touched the light curtain. Buzz with a finger falling. The light curtain was like a smooth water surface, with ripples appearing all over. Soon, as the light curtain dissipated, the things that were sealed and protected also appeared before the two of them. It was a dark land, but the strong vitality and rich spirit chi emanating from the land told the two that it was not simple. This is. Luo Qinghuan cast a curious look. Suyi's eyes also fell on the dark soil. After pondering for a moment, a light flashed in his eyes. I didn't expect that this Kunlun Great Emperor actually has such a good thing. Nice one. The girl was stunned. That's right. This is a medicinal field called the Longevity Medicinal Field. Just plant spirit medicine on it to speed up its growth and make the medicinal properties of spirit medicine stronger. Suya explained with a smile. It's amazing. Luo Qinghuan opened her red lips slightly, and said in amazement, accelerated growth means that the spirit medicine planted can increase its age more quickly? It can become a spirit medicine of 100, 1,000, or even 10,000 years old. That's right. Suya smiled and nodded. It's a pity, the reward is only a few spirit medicine seeds. The girl frowned slightly. With this magical medicine field, she would naturally plant more spirit medicine, but now, Spirit medicine seeds are very scarce. Yes. Just when the girl was frowning, she suddenly thought of something, a gleam of light flashed in her beautiful eyes, and a smile appeared on her pretty face. We can ask Elder Qi for. No, let's borrow some spirit medicine seeds. Oh. Hearing this, Suya was stunned and looked at the girl with some surprise. He didn't expect that this girl had learned his way of borrowing money so quickly. He is indeed very insightful. This woman is very much in my heart. Luo Qinghuan's blackening progress +1. Congratulations to the host for reaching 50 darkness points. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the medicine field enhancement card. Just at this moment, the system voice in my mind kept ringing. Another group of black mist condensed in the first layer of the dark little tower in Suyi's Danshan. Medicine field enhancement card. But at this moment, Suyi's attention was all on the blackened reward. What's the use? He frowned. Soon. The system explains it. After using the medicine field enhancement card, the medicine field can have the spirit medicine upgrade function. It was just a short sentence, but it made Suyi's eyes flash with joy. He immediately used the medicine field strengthening card without hesitation. This thing was useless to invest in Luo Yetu. Girl Luo, your brother Ye has used some tricks to strengthen this medicine field. Now the longevity medicine field can not only grow quickly, but also improve the grade of the spirit medicine planted in the field. Spirit medicine grade. That's right. Medicine pills have grades, and spirit medicine naturally has grades as well. It can be divided into spirit medicine from grade 1 to grade 9, holy medicine, imperial medicine, and divine medicine. Even a 1,000-year-old first-grade spirit medicine is far less effective than a newly grown holy medicine. Therefore, spirit medicine must not only be of high age, but also of high grade. And now the spirit medicine planted in this longevity medicine field has the potential to be upgraded. Come and ask your brother Ye to log in and plant all these spirit medicine seeds. Hearing this, in the place where souls are contained, the little soul in a white dress covers her little mouth, and her beautiful eyes are full of shining stars. Suya is really amazing. Chapter 57. After planting the spirit medicine, all you have to do now is wait for it to grow and level up. By then he will help to refine these spirit medicines into pills. It can be said that with Suya, a terrifying existence who pioneered the fourth step of pill refining, and this longevity medicine field, Luo Qinghuan will have enough pills in the future, even if he has to eat the emperor pills as candy beans. Suya logged off, and the two of them left Kunlun territory. The girl fiddled with the pile of rewards again, and discovered a lot of martial arts from them. She was not short of skills. After all, the heaven-swallowing demon technique that Suya taught her was very powerful and could not be replaced by ordinary skills at all. This is, Earth-rank martial arts, 10,000 swords break. Luo Qinghuan found a martial arts book, and a hint of joy flashed in her beautiful eyes. It seems that this girl has a special liking for sword techniques. What's the difference between Earth rank and garbage? If we keep following your brother Ye, people will think we can't practice stronger martial arts if the news gets out. In his mind, Suya glanced at the Wangji Unpo in her hand. Earth rank high-grade martial arts. Not very strong. Isn't it strong? This is a martial art that is almost at the saint rank level. The girl blinked her beautiful eyes. Even the most powerful martial arts of their Swanyan holy sect is only saint rank high grade. The martial arts techniques of the Tianxian world can be divided from high to low into God, Emperor, Saint, Heaven, Earth, Profound and Yellow. In the entire desolate sky region, apart from the 5 top forces that possess Emperor realm powerhouses, the strongest martial arts skills possessed by the other first-rate forces are only saint rank. A true Emperor rank martial art. Only the 5 top forces have it. Even if there were some Emperor rank martial arts techniques left in the ancient secret realm or the great Emperor's tomb, they would be taken away by the 5 major forces. Why? Suya sighed. Girl Luo, I'm sorry that your brother Ye came late and didn't let you eat fine bran. He was a great emperor in his previous life. If he didn't have the emperor's martial arts, how could he be called a great emperor? Besides, even if he didn't, don't other great emperors have it? But don't forget, his name is Great Emperor. The gangster Great Emperor. It doesn't matter if we don't have it, as long as others have it. Originally, Suya wanted to teach this girl an emperor rank technique, but the system rewarded her with the heaven-swallowing demon technique. Although the level was not marked, Suya was a great emperor and also a transmigrator. He naturally understood that even emperor rank techniques were not as good as the techniques rewarded by the system. As for martial arts, this girl's realm was too low before. If she practiced emperor rank martial arts, Suya was afraid that her body would not be able to bear it. But now it seems that his worries were completely unnecessary. Girl Luo, hold your breath and concentrate. Your brother Ye is sending you a sword technique. Judging from its properties, it should be very suitable for you. Suya said in a deep voice. Okay, hearing Suyi's words, Luo Qinghuan immediately showed a serious look on his face, and then did as he said. Soon. She felt a large amount of words pouring into her mind. The girl looked over quickly. I saw the ancient characters formed into 4 large characters in a dancing style. Frost Dragon Sword Technique. Luo Qinghuan murmured. Just by reading the name of the sword intent martial art, she felt the terrifying imperial power condensing. The extremely cold sword intent roared like a dragon. Could this be emperor rank martial arts? The girl was a little surprised. Certainly. Suya nodded and explained with a smile, this is a sword technique with icy attributes, which is suitable for your attributes. It is easier to practice and will also bring out its strongest power. Hearing Suyi's words, the girl was stunned. She didn't expect that Suya would just give her an emperor rank martial arts book that could shock the entire desolate sky region. The girl burst into tears. Suya, you stop. However, she hasn't finished her words yet. Suya raised his hand and stopped her with a pretended disgust. Your brother Ye hates mushy scenes the most. We are just friends, so don't do that. No. What I mean is, since I've already given them all, why not give them 2 more, hee. The girl wiped her tears and smiled sweetly. Suya. Completion. This girl has been completely led astray. Okay. You little girl Luo, you actually dared to tease your brother Ye. Brother Ye must punish you. Ah. Stinky Suya, don't come up and tickle me. Hee, you, don't move your hands. After a little fight, when the girl's face turned red, Suya gave her instructions. Alright. Girl Luo, start comprehending this Frost Dragon Sword technique. Oh, I see. The blush on Luo Qinghuan's face faded, and she glared at Suya in her soul who had just been doing bad things. Then she nodded her head slightly, then sat down cross-legged and began to comprehend the Emperor rank sword technique. Just as the girl began to realize the Emperor rank sword technique, in Suyi's mind, the system voice suddenly sounded. It has been detected that Luo Qinghuan has realized the Emperor rank sword technique, and the host, the Great Dao Saint Master, has activated it. Emperor rank sword art Frost Dragon sword art has been upgraded to Divine rank sword art Frost Dragon sword dance. Suya was stunned. What? Divine rank? FKU. Even when I was the Great Emperor, I never practiced divine rank martial arts. Suya is sour. Luo girl is treated too well. Great Dao Saint Master has been activated. When Luo Qinghuan has perfected the divine rank martial art, Frost Dragon sword dance, he can counterattack the host. The power of this martial art will be increased 5-fold when the host performs it. When the host reshapes his body, the power of this martial art will be increased 10-fold. In my mind, the system sound rang again. 10 times? Suya, okay, not sour anymore. Immediately. He immediately stopped the girl who was in the process of realizing the Emperor rank sword technique. What's the matter? The girl looked up blankly. Don't fix that. Fix this. Suya said, silently transmitting the martial arts after the system upgrade to the girl. The girl looked over. Frost Dragon sword dance. God, level. At this moment, the girl stood there in a daze, and Suya could even see wisps of white smoke coming out of her head. Seeing this scene, Suya couldn't help but exclaimed. FK. Girl Luo's system is down. And when Luo Qinghuan's brain crashed. At the same time, in the desolate sky territory, in a valley shrouded in darkness, a shocking conspiracy is taking place. And here. This is the location of the Extreme Demon Valley, one of the 5 top forces in the Wilderness Realm. Chapter 58. Extreme Demon Valley. At this moment, deep in the mysterious valley shrouded in darkness, a pitch-black hall, as if shrouded in darkness, stands here. Inside the main hall, I saw a black-robed figure sitting on the skeleton throne, emitting demonic energy from his whole body. At the same time, there were several dark auras surrounding him, and each one seemed to have traces of a beating heart. Demon, the Lord said that now that the secret realm is open, we have to take action against that old thing, and it's time to round up the fish that have escaped the net. At this moment, a dark aura turned into a hideous human face and slowly spoke. Oh! Are we finally going to take action against that old man? The black-robed figure raised his head, revealing a pair of sinister eyes. And this person? It turned out to be Masha, the master of Jimo Valley, one of the 5 top forces in the desolate sky realm. Is the container ready? That old thing is very stubborn. Although he has passed away, his soul and power are still strong. Even we can't force our way in. We can only find a container to live in and make plans after entering the secret realm. The human face transformed from the dark aura said in a deep voice. Nature. The extreme demon valley master nodded. Then he waved his hand. 3 Taoist figures walked in from outside the hall, but at this moment their eyes were lifeless, just like 2 zombie-like puppets, walking numbly to the center of the hall. Fang Yuan, the 4th among the prodigy of extreme demon valley. Yet Yensheng, 5th among the prodigy of extreme demon valley. Song Hun, the 6th in the prodigy of extreme demon valley. The extreme demon valley master introduced the identities of the 3 people, then glanced at the several gloomy and dark auras around him, and said lightly, 3 containers, you see, who will go this time? Good container. Haha. I will not give you this opportunity to be recognized by the Lord. The ferocious old face who spoke first laughed strangely, and then rushed directly into the shadow of a deist without giving the people around him any chance to react. He. Since you old man have gone, I can't fall behind. Snort. The same goes for me. After 2 strange laughs, 2 more dark and eerie auras rushed into the bodies of the other 2 people. Seeing this, the other auras could only give up and dissipate. All right. When they entered the container and the dark aura around them dissipated, the Lord of the Extreme Demon Valley waved his hand towards the 3 deist figures of His Highness. Immediately, the 3 men regained their spirit in their eyes and no longer looked like puppets. Meet the Valley Master. When the 3 of them reacted and saw the black-robed figure in the hall, awe immediately flashed in their eyes and they quickly saluted him. Get up! The Extreme Demon Valley Master glanced at the 3 of them calmly and said, the 3 of you are the candidates for the prodigy to participate in the secret realm of the divine weapons this time. Yes. Thank you, Valley Master. We will not disappoint the Valley Master's expectations. When they heard what the Extreme Demon Valley Master said, the 3 of them were stunned for a moment, then a look of great joy flashed in their eyes, and they hurriedly thanked him. All right. Back off. The Lord of the Extreme Demon Valley waved his hand, and the 3 of them immediately retreated, their eyes still filled with joy. Wait until the 3 of them leave. There was silence in the hall. The gloom in the eyes of the Extreme Demon Valley Master gradually deepened. If it weren't for that damned great emperor of the human race tens of thousands of years ago, who single-handedly killed 7 demon emperors of our race wouldn't have fallen to this point. Mentioned that human race great emperor. There was an obvious flash of fear from the depths of his soul in his eyes. Then he hummed again. Snort. You were able to protect them when you were alive. I want to see who can protect them after you die. My lord, they have been in the god realm for tens of thousands of years now. I don't know what terrifying realm they have reached. When they come to the 9 realms again, it will be the time for our clan to unify the 9 realms. Swanyan Holy Religion. Frost Sword Peak. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 days passed. During this time, Suya was teaching Luo Qinghuan how to practice, and Luo Qinghuan also recovered from the divine rank martial arts crash and practiced the divine rank martial arts seriously. Finally, she lived up to Suyi's expectations and successfully attained enlightenment of the divine rank martial arts. In Kunlun, a frost dragon shadow that was hundreds of feet long appeared, and with the sound of a sword ringing, it roared and rushed towards it. In an instant, a mountain was cut in half by this sword. The sword mark spanned several thousand meters, and one could even feel the bone-chilling coldness. I'm afraid that even if the sword doesn't kill him, this cold air can still finish him off. Is this divine rank martial arts so strong? The girl held the magic sword, and the frost covering the sword gradually melted away. She looked at the power caused by her sword with shining eyes, her red lips slightly opened in surprise. That's nothing. In her mind, Suya yawned leisurely. When your brother Ye has rebuilt his body, I will let you see what true divine rank martial arts are. Snort. The girl pouted and snorted. Stinky Suya only knows how to bully people. Haha. However, it is incredible that you can unleash such power in divine rank martial arts even though you have just entered the venerable realm. Suya laughed and changed the subject again. Hearing this, the girl's pouting lips just relaxed a little. Suya is quite knowledgeable in coaxing children. Suya, you should restore Kunlun realm. Then I'm going to take a shower and rest. It seems that we will go to secret realm tomorrow. Luo Qinghuan wiped the sweat from his forehead and said softly to Suya. Suya nodded. Immediately, the look in the girl's eyes changed. Call. I haven't been out and about for a while. Suya went to the room and stretched. During this period of time, he was guiding Luo Yetu in her cultivation, so he hardly ever logged in. If he didn't log in and move, his soul and body would become stiff. Hey! Just at this moment, Suya seemed to have discovered something and made a puzzled sound. What's the matter? A place for the soul. The little soul in the white dress heard his doubtful voice and looked up in confusion. Girl Luo. Have you gained weight recently? Suya frowned. Fat. Upon hearing this, the girl in the little white dress was stunned and a little nervous. It turned out that no matter what the world view is, girls are very concerned about their weight. Yes. Suya nodded and continued. Why do I feel a heaviness in my chest? Really? However, he hasn't finished speaking yet. In the soul receiving place, a hint of excitement immediately flashed in the beautiful eyes of the little soul in the white dress, and she said happily. But she soon reacted. Cough. Maybe I'm fat. Oh, don't worry about it, let's recover the Kunlun realm first. The girl coughed lightly and urged. Judging from the situation, it seems that the ancient divine clothes have started to take effect. Hehe, I can't let Suya find out, otherwise this bad guy will definitely laugh at me. Chapter 59. Really? Hearing the girl's words, Suya raised his eyebrows and tried not to laugh. This girl thought she had kept it a secret. Little did they know. He discovered me when I was sneaking into it on the first day. Immediately, Suya did not expose her. He looked at the mountain that was split by her sword. Then he waved his hand and an ancient bronze mirror appeared in his hand. Accompanied by a burst of light, the entire mountain range was restored to its original state. It can be said that Kunlun realm is a very suitable place for cultivation. No matter how damaged it is, it can be restored to its original state. After recovering the Kunlun realm, Suya returned the control of his body to Luo Qinghuan, and then the girl went to bathe in the spiritual spring in the backyard of the courtyard, looking like she was in a very good mood. How could Suya not know her little thoughts? That night, the full moon is high in the sky. In a room in a small courtyard on the hillside, the girl stealthily poked her head out from under the quilt. She heaved a sigh of relief only when she found a bad guy snoring loudly in the place where souls were contained. Then, like a thief, he lifted up his clothes. The next moment, there seemed to be light in the girl's eyes, she clenched her fists, and her fighting spirit was high. One day, I will definitely make Suya, the bad guy, look at me with new eyes, hehe. Puff. In the dark night, when the girl's fighting murmurs sounded, a sound of suppressed laughter suddenly rang out at an inopportune time. Luo Qinghuan. She was stunned for several seconds. Although there was no candle in the room, one could still seem to see the girl's gradually emerging blush. Then, she finally reacted and put down her clothes with a blushing face. In the room, there was still deathly silence, but the temperature seemed to soar at this moment because of the girl's blushing face. Suya, you didn't sleep. The girl blushed, gritted her teeth, and asked a little nervously. Huff, huff, huff. The only response she got was Suyi's snoring. You must not have slept. Huff, huff, huff. Look, there's a fairy. Huff, huff, huff. Seeing this scene, the girl finally felt relieved. She patted her chest, which was no longer too flat, and breathed a sigh of relief. It seems that this bad guy is really asleep. Otherwise, if I shouted that there was a fairy, this lecher would definitely react. Just as she was about to fall asleep, she suddenly thought of something. Hey! I seem to remember that Elder Qi Yan said that there are free pills available for refining at Elixir Peak. Where? Girl Luo, follow your brother yet. Sacks, prepare a few big sacks. However, the words haven't finished yet. Su Yi's voice suddenly sounded in my mind. Luo Qinghuan. Really? Something that can attract gangsters, something that only gangsters can do. Cough. Girl Luo, I just woke up. I saw nothing, I heard nothing. For example, you swore to say something that would impress your brother yet, but your brother yet didn't hear anything. Su Ye coughed dryly. Luo Qinghuan. Then her pretty face turned red at a speed visible to the naked eye. Smelly. Su. Night, the next day. In a small courtyard on the hillside of Frost Sword Peak, the girl opened the door and went down the mountain with her sword in hand. Today is the day to go to the secret realm of divine soldiers. The secret realm of divine soldiers is some distance away from the Xuanyan holy sect, so naturally they will not go there by themselves, but let the strong men of the sect escort them personally. That's right. Girl Luo. In my mind. Su Ye thought of something and asked. The 5 top forces have 3 places this time, and Xuanyan holy sect, as a first-class force, has 2 places. 1 place is given to you, where is the other place? I don't know. Luo Qinghuan shook his head and said guessingly. It could be senior brother Ye King Ai, who is ranked 3rd, or it could be senior sister Sun, who is ranked 2nd. Oh. Su Ye narrowed his eyes and asked suddenly. What about Han Feng? Han Feng, number 1 on the prodigy list of Xuanyan holy sect. In the original story, Han Feng often bullied Luo Qinghuan. Knowing the girl's weak character, he often asked her to hand over her cultivation resources to him. He even found excuses to take away some of the opportunities that the girl had gained by risking her life in the secret realm. Senior brother Han Feng. Hearing this, Luo Qinghuan frowned slightly, her face wrinkled, and she shook her head. Senior brother Han Feng usually practices in seclusion and will not come out easily, and I don't like senior brother Han Feng very much. Senior brother Han Feng always looks superior. He never gives me a good face. Is that so? Su Ye raised his eyebrows slightly. Han Feng's late stage was even more rampant. If he is the other candidate for the secret realm this time, then, let this guy not have a late stage. Soon, Luo Qinghuan came to the training square of Xuanyan Holy Sect. At this time, many disciples of Xuanyan Holy Sect had gathered here to practice. When the girl appeared, she immediately attracted the attention of all the disciples, and a hint of awe flashed in their eyes. Senior Sister Luo. Meet Senior Sister Luo. Luo Qinghuan nodded slightly as a greeting, then stood aside, waiting for someone from the sect to come. Qinghuan, you are here. Just at this moment, a female voice suddenly sounded. Yu Ji, dressed in a purple cheongsam, came over, followed by a white-haired old man with a cane. Seeing this, everyone hurriedly saluted. Meet the master. Meet the Xianming Grand Elder. I have met the leader and the Supreme Elder. Luo Qinghuan heard the voice and looked over, also bowing softly. Qinghuan, let Supreme Elder Xianming protect you on this trip. Yu Ji looked at the white-haired old man beside her and said lightly. Yes. Luo Qinghuan nodded slightly. The peak of the Great Power Realm, half a step into the Samsara Realm. Su Ye glanced at the Xianming Supreme Elder and took in his strength. He was considered a top powerhouse among the first-rate forces, but unfortunately he was still a little short of being among the top 5 forces. Master, who is the other candidate? This one. Yu Ji was about to speak. I heard that junior sister Luo has already broken through to the 8th level of the Venerable Realm. This speed really makes me, a senior brother, ashamed. At this moment, a young man's cold laugh suddenly rang out. Then, in the sky, a young man in green clothes holding a folding fan fell from the sky. The surrounding Xuanyan Holy Sect disciples looked over and their faces changed. It's brother Han Feng, great master. What? Is it the crazy cultivator from the Xuanyan Holy Sect? Number 1 on the prodigy list, I didn't expect to be released today. When they saw the young man holding the folding fan, everyone around them couldn't help but gasp, their eyes filled with fear. They all said that senior brother Han Feng was very cruel, and even some of his fellow disciples who offended him would suffer a miserable end. And the most important thing is, Han Feng is not only extremely talented, but his master is the Xianming Supreme Elder in front of him. That is to say, in the Xuanyan Holy Sect, almost no one dares to provoke him. Han Feng, did you break through to the creation realm after coming out of retreat this time? Yu Ji glanced at him calmly and asked. Replying to the sect leader, I just broke through to the creation realm. This time I came out of seclusion to find a spiritual weapon that suits me in the secret realm, so that I can impact the top 10 of the prodigy list of the desolate sky realm. Han Feng said with a chuckle. Creation realm. Strive to be in the top 10 of the wilderness territory prodigy list. Hiss. Senior brother Han Feng is so scary. There was a constant sound of people gasping for air all around. Junior sister Luo, I heard that you won first place in this Dao discussion conference. I wonder what good things the sect gave you as a reward. If you don't mind, why not show it to me? At this moment, Han Feng's eyes fell on the girl, and the corners of his mouth couldn't help but rise slightly. This Han Feng is even worse than in the original novel. Start robbing as soon as you meet. Am I a gangster or are you a gangster? Hearing this, Suya narrowed his eyes. Okay, okay. You have already received your death. Hearing Han Feng's words, Luo Qinghuan frowned slightly, then raised her eyes and looked at him. I do mind. Chapter 60. What did you say? When Han Feng heard the words of the girl in front of him, he was obviously stunned for a moment and his brows couldn't help but frown. In the past, when the girl faced such a request from him, she would hesitate, but in the end she would still take out the rewards from the sect and show them to him, and he would take them for himself under the pretext of keeping them for the girl. But now. But Luo Qinghuan rejected him directly. Junior sister Luo, what did you just say? I didn't hear it clearly. Why don't you say it again? Han Feng still had a smile on his face. Luo Qinghuan glanced at him and ignored him. Stinky Suya said it, and I have to say it even if you didn't hear it clearly? Why? Okay, okay. Seeing that the girl in front of him did not choose to pay attention to him, Han Feng could not help but narrow his eyes, and a hint of coldness flashed in his eyes. Did he think that he could disobey his senior brother just by breaking through to the 8th star of the venerable realm? But soon, the coldness in his eyes disappeared. That smile was on his face again. Since junior sister is unwilling, senior brother will not force her. After saying, he shrugged and retreated behind the Xianming Supreme Elder. All right. Elder Xianming, let's leave now without delay. Don't delay the opening of the secret realm of the divine weapon. Yu Ji glanced at the three of them and said. Yes. Master. Supreme Elder Xianming nodded, then threw the crutch in his hand into the air. The crutch instantly grew larger, becoming several dozen feet long and suspended in the air. He jumped up first. Then he waved to the two people below. Fenger, Qinghuan girl, come up. The two men nodded and jumped onto the crutch. After the two of them stabilized their bodies, the Xianming Supreme Elder said to Yu Ji below, Master, we are leaving. After saying that, he waved his sleeves. The crutch, which was dozens of feet long, actually flew into the air, broke through the clouds, and disappeared in the blink of an eye. The location of the secret realm of the divine weapon is in Zhongzhou of the desolate sky realm. It is said that whenever the secret realm of the divine weapon is about to open, all the spirit weapons in the vicinity of Zhongzhou, whether they have owners or not, will resonate, as if they are wailing for the great emperor who fell in it. And at this moment, more and more prodigy forces that are qualified to enter the secret realm of divine weapons are heading towards the location of the secret realm of divine weapons. The location of the Xuanyan Holy Sect is not very close to Zhongzhou. Even if a half-step reincarnation realm expert like Grand Elder Xianming tried his best to travel, it would still take a full day. During this time, Luo Qinghuan found a corner of the cane alone, far away from Han Feng. He seemed to be practicing quietly with his eyes closed, but in fact he had already hidden in the soul space to chat with Suyat. Although Han Feng did not take the initiative to come over to cause trouble, from the cold eyes he gave the girl from time to time, one could tell that this guy was definitely up to no good. Soon, a day passed. Fenger, Qinghuan girl is ready. We're almost there. On crutches. The voice of Supreme Elder Xianming suddenly sounded. Hearing this, Luo Qinghuan emerged from the soul space, slowly opened her beautiful eyes, and looked in the direction pointed by Grand Elder Xianming. There was only a wilderness ahead. Within a radius of 100 miles, there was nothing but a desert, without any sign of life, as if it were a dead place. And in the very center of the wilderness, a broken sword that was hundreds of feet tall and reached into the sky was stuck straight there. This is... A hint of doubt flashed across the girl's beautiful eyes. That is the entrance to the secret realm of the divine weapon. On the cane, Xianming Grand Elder looked at the broken sword with a solemn expression. He couldn't help but sigh and said, "It is said that this broken sword was once an imperial weapon. Since the fall of the great emperor, countless Saint Lord realm powerhouses and emperor realm beings have wanted to pull out the broken sword and take it for themselves. But all of them ended in failure." Hearing this, Suyat, who was in the soul container, crossed his arms and snorted coldly. Nonsense! Although the old man with the magic weapon is not very powerful, no one can touch the magic weapon he forged, no matter how powerful you are, the great emperor, as long as he does not allow it. Oh! So that great emperor is very powerful? Luo Qinghuan asked curiously. Suya said that this was the tomb of his old friend, so this so-called old friend should be the great emperor, the senior of the magic weapon. How can the great emperor be weak? The Xianming Supreme Elder shook his head. The great emperor's greatest strength is his forging skills. The emperor weapons he forges are coveted by the strong men of the 9 realms. All right. Fenger, Qinghuan girl, get ready, we are going to land first. Supreme Elder Xianming said something, and then controlled his crutch to move towards the broken sword. At the same time, as they got closer to the broken sword, more and more cultivators gathered around them. Obviously, these are all powerful prodigy from various major forces who are preparing to enter the secret realm. Boom! Just at this moment, a loud roar rang out. I saw a magic knife falling from the sky and hitting the broken sword heavily. The powerful airflow instantly blew away the walking stick of Supreme Elder Xianming. Fortunately, the 3 of them reacted quickly and steadied their bodies so as not to fall. It wasn't just the 3 of them who were affected. The flying spirit weapons of many surrounding forces were affected. Some even fell to the ground unexpectedly, and were so angry that they started swearing on the spot. Grass! Yukong doesn't have eyes. Don't you see there are so many people here? Are you in a hurry to reincarnate? Idiot! However, he was halfway through cursing when he was immediately stopped by his companion. His companion pointed downward with a pale face. When he saw the old man in blood-stained clothes and the 3 young men in blood-stained clothes beside him, his face suddenly changed. Fear flashed in his eyes and he immediately shut his mouth. The surroundings were also affected, and the monk who wanted to curse to vent his anger immediately stopped this dangerous idea. Nothing else. Because the identities of the people on that magic sword are not simple. That is one of the 5 top forces in the wilderness realm, the extreme demon valley. This kind of identity does give them the capital and confidence to be so rampant. Let's go down too. When Supreme Elder Xianming saw the few people, he frowned, and after a solemn look flashed across his eyes, he controlled his crutch to fly down and stopped a few hundred meters away from the broken sword. This magic weapon secret realm is not their Swanyan Holy Sex Conference on Taoism. This great emperor's secret realm is powerful enough to attract the entire desolate sky domain, and the real protagonists are only the 5 top forces. 5 stars in the Samsara realm, and 3 1-stars in the creation realm. These 3 should be the prodigy juniors from the extreme demon valley who are participating in the secret realm of the divine weapons. They are not very strong. Even if I don't need to take action, Luo Yedu is more than capable of dealing with these 3 people. A place for the soul. Su Yi's gaze fell on the 4 people from the GMO Valley, and in an instant he analyzed their strength in detail. Sudden. Just when Su Ye was about to look away, his brows suddenly frowned, as if he had discovered something. Chapter 61. When Su Yi's eyes fell on the 3 prodigy of Jimo Valley, his brows immediately frowned. He felt that there seemed to be a familiar aura on these 3 people. That aura was disgusting. Su Ye, what's wrong? As if sensing the changes in Su Yi's soul, Luo Qinghuan hurriedly asked. Fine. Su Ye shook his head, took one last look at the 3 people, and then looked away. When Su Ye looked away, the eyes of the 3 prodigy in Jimo Valley suddenly became numb, and 3 dark auras flashed through their minds. What's going on? Why do I feel like I've been looked at by some terrifying existence? Do you too have the same feeling? The dark and ferocious old man frowned and asked the other 2 people quickly. Have. Moreover, that feeling is very terrible, as if it is engraved deep in my soul. The other two dark auras also responded palely. Hiss! Why is this happening? Never mind. The most urgent task is to eliminate those who have slipped through the net. The old man in the secret realm must be eliminated today. The three of them shook their heads, a cold look flashing in their eyes. As time goes by, more and more powerful people come here. When four terrifying auras emerged in the sky, the faces of everyone present changed immediately, and they looked up at the sky, followed by continuous exclamations. The Divine Maiden of the Supreme Forgetful Palace, Li Qingyang of the Dan League, and the third prince of the Wuji dynasty. These are the most prominent figures among the top 5 forces. It seems that the 5 forces are determined to obtain the secret realm this time. And the one from Zhangtian Palace, hey? The one from Zhangtian Palace this time is not the third Dao child Qin Tian. Where's Qin Tian? Qin Tian's body is completely cold. What? Qin Tian from Zhangtian Palace is dead. As soon as these words came out, there was an uproar all around. No one expected that Qin Tian, one of the 3 Dao children of Zhangtian Palace, had already died. Which ruthless person did this? At this moment, hearing the discussions of the people around her, a girl in the crowd turned her head slightly and hummed a little tune. It was done by Stinky Suyat. What does it have to do with me, Luo Qinghuan? With the 5 top forces all present, all that needs to be done now is to wait for the opening of the secret realm. The Xianming Supreme Elder also took Han Feng and Luo Qinghuan to wait quietly on the side, letting the two of them accumulate their essence nurturing and prepare to enter the secret realm of the magic weapon. Are you Luo Qinghuan? Just at this moment, a cold female voice suddenly sounded. When they looked up, they saw a woman in a flaming red dress with a fire phoenix painted on it walking towards them. She crossed her arms and looked at the girl in the white dress in front of her. And this girl is none other than the favored daughter of the Supreme Forgetful Palace, the Divine Maiden. What's going on? Why did Phoenix Divine Maiden go to the Swanyan Holy Church? Could it be that the people of Swanyan Holy Cult have offended the Supreme Forgetful Palace? How dare they? Hey, there's something interesting to watch. This scene was soon seen by the crowd of onlookers around, who immediately looked over, ready to watch a good show. The Divine Maiden of the Shrine. I am Xianming, the Grand Elder of Swanyan Holy Sect. I wonder why Divine Maiden Huang is looking for Qinghuan girl. The Xianming Supreme Elder frowned and spoke quickly. But Divine Maiden ignored him and kept her eyes on the girl in the white dress. Junior Sister Luo, have you offended Miss Huang? Divine Maiden? Why don't you apologize to her right away? Han Feng squinted at Luo Qinghuan and quickly scolded her. The girl frowned slightly. But he hasn't spoken yet. The Phoenix Divine Maiden glared at Han Feng. Shut up! What does it have to do with you that I, the Divine Maiden, am talking to her? Han Feng. The corners of his mouth twitched and his expression suddenly turned ugly, but he forced himself not to say a word. He couldn't afford to offend prodigy from the top 5 forces. I heard that the Divine Envoy chose you, which means you are one of my Divine Maiden's competitors. I am looking forward to fighting you. A hint of fighting spirit flashed in the beautiful eyes of the Phoenix Divine Maiden. She raised her red lips slightly and looked at Luo Qinghuan. After her saying, without saying another word, he turned around and left. Only the confused monk's prodigy were left looking at the girl in white dress in astonishment. That is Luo Qinghuan of Swanyan Holy Sect. What did Phoenix Divine Maiden mean by that? Is she qualified to be Phoenix Divine Maiden's opponent? There was a lot of discussion around, and everyone's eyes were on the girl. What does she mean by that? The girl frowned slightly, her beautiful eyes full of confusion. She did not sense any malice from the Phoenix Divine Maiden, only endless fighting spirit. It must be related to the so-called Divine Messenger she mentioned, and the Supreme Forgetfulness Sutra that Yu-Ji gave you. Suya explained that in the near future of the original story, the Supreme Palace of Forgetfulness will hold a Divine Maiden selection, and Luo Yeta will also participate in this Divine Maiden selection, and eventually stand out and become the true Divine Maiden of the palace. This Phoenix Divine Maiden should also be one of the Divine Maiden candidates, which is why she regards Luo Yeta as her competitor. But anyone who wants to be a Divine Maiden can do it, but Luo Yeta won't do it. Soon. After a long wait. Suddenly, an extremely sharp sword intent condensed on the broken sword in the wilderness. Then, accompanied by a roar, the terrifying sword intent soared into the sky and cut through the sky. Boom! Immediately following, countless shadows appeared above the sky. Upon seeing this, everyone immediately looked over, only to see that those shadows were actually divine weapons, including knives, swords, guns, etc. Each of them was vigorous and extremely sharp. Just some shadows. Everyone could feel the terrifying murderous intent from it. Hiss. With so many magical weapons, I'm afraid any one of them can be used as a peerless emperor weapon. Is this the great emperor's secret realm? Seeing this scene, the expressions of the surrounding monks gradually became solemn, and their eyes were filled with burning desire. This old guy is still not at peace even after his death. He just loves to show off his magic weapons. Deep in the soul, Suya glanced at the magical weapons in the sky, and couldn't help but laugh and curse, then shook his head. It's a pity that this old guy is so stingy that he didn't even give you a magical weapon, brother, yet. It must be because you bullied the great emperor senior, the divine weapon, that he didn't give it to you. Hearing this, Luo Qinghuan said gloatingly. Why would I bully that old guy? Your brother yet only bullies you. That's called favoritism. Suya said with a smile. Luo Qinghuan. Then I also want to, thank you. That's right. Suya nodded without hesitation. Snort. The girl pouted and snorted. Okay, Luo girl, get ready to enter this secret realm. Suyi's eyes fell on the broken sword that was gradually unfolding the barrier, and he murmured, I wonder if I can see my old friend for the last time. Chapter 62. Boom. As the barrier on the broken sword gradually unfolded, a sharp sword intent spread out from the center, immediately changing the faces of many monks present. Seeing this, the leaders of the major forces all used their means to protect the young prodigy behind them. Fenger, Qinghuan girl, step back behind this old man. A hint of solemnity flashed across the eyes of Supreme Elder Xianming, and he slammed the cane in his hand heavily to the ground. An aura instantly enveloped the two people behind him. Clang! The sword fell. The barrier unfolded instantly. That sharp sword intent also instantly passed through all the people around. That terrifying sword intent immediately changed the faces of all the team leaders present. Their eyes were full of solemnity and they did not dare to slack off at all. Sword intent is so powerful. Is this the divine sword forged by the great emperor? This sharp sword intent is not the sword intent wielded by the great emperor. Rather, it is the terrifying sword intent possessed by the divine weapon forged by the great emperor. It is conceivable that if a great emperor who majored in sword intent were to wield this divine sword, how terrifying would his sword intent be? The sword intent ripples flowed, passing through everyone in an instant, as if scanning everyone present. And no one noticed that when the sword intent ripples brushed against the girl in the white dress, the ripples inadvertently caused larger ripples. Finally, when the sword sound stopped and the sword intent dissipated, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Under the broken sword, a space portal actually emerged, and inside it was the divine weapon trial. Fenger, Qinghuan girl, this secret realm only allows young people to enter, so the road ahead can only be entered by the two of you in person. Remember to take care of each other after entering. The Xianming Supreme Elder looked at the two of them and gave them instructions. Master, don't worry. I will definitely take good care of junior sister Luo. Han Feng's eyes fell on the girl, with a smiling face. Get ready to go. The Xianming Supreme Elder nodded. Everyone, since this secret realm of the magic weapon is in my Zhongzhou territory, then I, the third prince of the Wuji divine dynasty, should be the first to enter, right? The third prince of Wuji laughed and then led the other two prodigy of the Wuji divine dynasty and rushed directly towards the broken sword. Then Li Qingyang from the Dan League, Fang Yuan from the Jimo Valley, and prodigy from the Zhantian Palace all entered the broken sword. Luo Qinghuan, this divine maiden is waiting for you inside, please don't die. Before leaving, Phoenix Divine Maiden glanced at Luo Qinghuan, snorted proudly, and then left. When the prodigy from the 5 major forces have entered the scene, the prodigy from the surrounding forces will follow suit. Junior sister Luo, let's go in too. Han Feng glanced at the girl beside him and said with a smile. Luo Qinghuan nodded slightly but didn't say anything. At the same time, in the secret realm of the magic weapon, the deepest part, an old soul was suddenly stunned, and the soul trembled with excitement again. This familiar smell. Could it be? With a flash of white light, the surrounding space has changed. This is also a space of its own. In the sky, one can see the shadows of divine weapons hanging high. Everything seen here is transformed from the divine weapons. If one can gain their recognition, he can take them away and turn them into his own spiritual weapon. Therefore, as soon as we arrived at this space, we saw prodigy from many forces hugging big trees or lying on the ground to sense the grass. After all, these were all transformed from divine weapons. But neither the prodigy of the 5 major forces nor the prodigy of the first-class forces chose to stay here. But it transforms towards the deeper part of space. It is closer to where the great emperor fell, so the weapon is naturally much stronger than those outside. Junior sister Luo. This magic weapon secret realm is a bit dangerous, why don't you and I join forces? Han Feng smiled, and was already thinking about how to make Luo Qinghuan his tool, let her have an epiphany, waste her energy first, and then let her hand over the magic weapon, so that he can reap the benefits. However, when he said this, but he found that Luo Qinghuan behind him did not respond at all. There was a flash of displeasure in Han Feng's eyes. He turned around and wanted to scold, but found that the girl behind him had disappeared. See this scene? The gloom in Han Feng's eyes became even more intense. At the same time, another place in the secret realm of the divine weapon. So yeah, this big tree, is it also a magical weapon? The girl looked at the big tree with icy leaves in front of her and couldn't help but frowning. Certainly. You still don't believe in your brother yet? You'll be in danger soon. In my mind. Suya said unhappily. I believe it. I believe it. Hearing that her butt was in danger, the girl's face changed, and she subconsciously protected her perky butt and nodded her head quickly. Immediately, under the guidance of Suya, the girl began to feel the tree transformed from the magic weapon. She placed her small hands on the trunk and slightly closed her eyes. The next moment, accompanied by a flash of light, the tree turned into a spiritual sword emitting a hint of icy sword energy. Profound weapon, frost sword. The girl looked at the spiritual sword transformed from the big tree in front of her, stretched out her little hand and grasped it. Seeing this scene, many of the monks hugging trees around had envy in their eyes. Just by contact, you can be recognized by the divine weapon. This kind of talent is so powerful that it is terrifying. So yeah, this profound weapon isn't that strong, you don't understand this. Su Yi's mouth corners slightly raised, although this profound weapon is not strong, it is very valuable. Oh. I know spicy. The girl understood instantly. Although these profound weapons are useless to her, she can buy them and exchange them for cultivation resources that are useful to her. In this way, these magical weapons will be of use to her. Suya said that if you can get something for free, you must never let it go. Hey. Then I won't be shy. So. She was not in a hurry to go deeper and would buy some goods here first. This is truly a case of a fierce wife and a bandit husband, who eat and take things away from others. Wherever the bandits go, not a blade of grass grows. After all, even these grasses were transformed from divine weapons. When the girl touched all these things, the magic weapon recognized them as its master, and the surrounding monks were stunned in an instant. What the hell? Other prodigy come to the secret realm to carefully select the magic weapons that suit them, but this sister from the Swanyan holy sect comes to the secret realm to purchase goods? And in the secret realm of divine weapons, the prodigy of various major forces are trying to comprehend their own divine weapons and carefully select them. Under the guidance of the bad guy in her mind, a certain girl has started to purchase goods. No matter what level of magic weapons, she will accept them. The magic weapons have filled one storage ring after another. When the girl left for another place to purchase goods, she just arrived here and saw that it was empty and there was no grass at all. Suddenly, everyone looked at each other, some doubting their lives. Have they come to the wrong place? Chapter 63. The Secret Realm, the deepest part. A large temple stands here. At this moment, the prodigy of the 5 major forces and many prodigy of the first-class forces have gathered here in the hall, and there are 10 rays of light gathered here in the hall. In the light, there is a magical weapon sealed in each of them, including knives, guns, swords, fist blades, etc. All the prodigy in the hall looked at the 10 light balls with eager eyes, their eyes were full of fiery color. Although these magic weapons were sealed, everyone could still feel the power of these magic weapons. These 10 divine weapons are at least saint weapons. The grades of profound heaven continent's magic weapons can be divided into mortal weapon, spirit weapon, profound weapon, treasure weapon, saint weapon, imperial weapon, and divine weapon. Under the imperial weapon, saint weapon is the best weapon they can get. I can't stand it anymore. This kind of divine weapon belongs to me. Just at this moment, Prodigy, a first-rate force, finally couldn't stand the temptation of saint weapon, and moved directly, rushing towards a ball of light of a gun-shaped magic weapon. Snort! See this scene. Prodigy from the 5 major forces was not panicked at all. He just snorted coldly, crossed his arms and watched the show coldly. Ha ha ha! This holy spear is mine. Seeing that no one was trying to stop him, Prodigy, this first-rate force, showed even more joy in his eyes. He couldn't help but burst into laughter, and then reached out his big hand to touch the ball of light. Boom! The next moment, the light is shrouded and extremely dazzling. Prodigy was even more delighted. Whoosh! However, at this moment, a sound of breaking through the air was heard. The next moment, before Prodigy could react, a spear pierced his chest. What? Puff! His pupils suddenly shrank and he spat out a mouthful of blood. He turned around suddenly, only to see a figure transformed by a sharp spear intent holding a spear and piercing his chest. And the appearance of this figure is exactly the same as him. No! Prodigy screamed in despair and unwillingness, and then his body was directly picked up by the spear and fell heavily on the ground of the hall. The 2 stars of the venerable realm were killed instantly. See this scene. A solemn look appeared in the eyes of everyone in the hall. It seems that if one touches the light of this holy weapon, the saint weapon's weapon spirit will transform into the challenger's own, and its spirit must be at least 2 small realms higher than one's own strength. Defeat it, and you should be able to obtain the saint weapon. Interesting, really interesting. The 3rd prince of the Wuji divine dynasty raised his lips, his eyes fell on the 10 balls of light, and then he looked at the people around him jokingly. Now that we have figured out the method of obtaining the saint weapon from the secret realm this time, I wonder who among you would like to give it a try. As soon as these words came out, it was quiet all around. Obviously, even though they understand the process, no one would choose to be the first to take action. After all, the body of the person who just took the lead is still warm. Squeak! Just at this moment, the door of the hall was suddenly pushed open. Prodigy subconsciously looked over and saw a beautiful girl in a white dress pushing the door open. She was also carrying a large sack. The sack is filled with all kinds of magical weapons. See this scene. The prodigy in the hall couldn't help but be stunned for a moment, and the corners of their mouths twitched. Is this Luo Qinghuan from the Xuanyan Holy Sect, junior sister Luo? Is she going to purchase goods? Feeling the surprised looks of the crowd, the girl didn't take it seriously and just quietly put all the magic weapons in the sack into the storage ring. Junior sister Luo, I thought you were going somewhere without me, but it turns out you were picking up junk. Seeing this scene, Han Feng in the crowd also squinted his eyes and looked over, saying with a forced smile, his words full of sarcasm. Yes. Since we're here, we can't come here for nothing, right? Luo Qinghuan seemed not to hear the sarcasm in Han Feng's tone. She smiled with sincerity in her eyes. Senior brother Han should have comprehended a lot of magic weapons, right? Han Feng. His expression changed, and his eyes were filled with gloom. I was even more surprised. In the past, the girl was always timid. Why has she become so articulate now? Besides, brother Han Feng, you must not forget that this is the place where the great emperor, the great weapon master, fell. All the weapons here were forged with his blood and sweat. Although they are different in strength, they are not the junk you claim they are. The girl smiled. Hearing this, Han Feng's face looked even uglier. The girl's words were like putting him on the fire. But after she finished speaking, he even felt that there was a little more fierceness around him. I just made a slip of the tongue. Then he looked at Luo Qinghuan, pointed at the 10 light balls in the hall and said, Junior sister Luo, these 10 light balls are all saint weapons, why don't you try them? Hearing this, the prodigy of the surrounding forces couldn't help but secretly curse Han Feng's meanness in their hearts. He actually let his junior sister take the risk. He is really not a human being. But you can curse as much as you want. But no one reminded them, and they also hoped that there would be someone who was not afraid of death to try out the weapons in the saint weapons. In this way, they would have more experience in obtaining the saint weapons. After all, it is Han Feng who is shameless, what does it have to do with them? Luo Qinghuan looked with her beautiful eyes and saw that there were indeed various saint weapons among the 10 light balls. Why are they all saint weapons? When did the old man become so stingy? Suya frowned. Since his old friend was willing to open up the secret realm of the divine weapon, it meant that he was planning to release the imperial weapon he had forged. Why were all these 10 light balls saint weapons? Don't go. Just at this moment, a cold female voice sounded. Luo Qinghuan was stunned and looked up. Not far away, she saw a divine maiden in a fiery red dress, with her arms folded across her chest, looking at her with pride on her pretty face. This guy lied to you. This saint weapon is not that good. Phoenix Divine Maiden said coldly. When you come into contact with the saint weapon, the weapon will transform into your clone, whose realm is much higher than yours. If you are careless, you will die. Otherwise, why doesn't this guy go? Hearing this, the girl was stunned for a moment before she spoke to him. Thanks. Humph, you're welcome. Phoenix Divine Maiden snorted coldly. I just don't want to watch my opponent die like this. After all, I will defeat you fair and square. Seeing that Divine Maiden was ruining his plans, Han Feng's eyes were filled with gloom, but he didn't dare to get angry and could only let it go. So yeah, this saint weapon doesn't seem to be that easy to obtain. The girl frowned slightly. No problem. Didn't I tell you that this is the tomb of an old friend of mine? Since it is the tomb of an old friend, then I naturally know a lot about it. This is just a test of the old man's weapon intention. It's very simple. In my mind. Su Yi's voice rang out. Chapter 64. Weapon Intention Test. Hearing Su Yi's words, a look of confusion appeared in the girl's beautiful eyes. The weapon intention test is exclusive to the divine weapons forged by the old man. Any divine weapon he forges has a very strong weapon intention. If you want to gain the recognition of these saint weapons, at least your own weapon intention cannot be lower than that. Thinking back to your brother Ye in my mind. Su Ye explained. I see. Luo Qinghuan suddenly understood. With your brother Ye here, this thing will be easy. This weapon test is not scary. On the contrary, it is a good opportunity to hone yourself. Su Ye signaled the girl to relax. What a pity. Back then, the old man Shenbing was too stingy. Your brother Ye only tried it once and then refused to let me use it. Only once. Have you offended the great emperor, the divine weapon? The girl frowned slightly. If he was really an old friend, shouldn't he only let Su Ye take the test once? Yes. Just once. That old man is very stingy. Su Ye spread his hands, filled with indignation. That's right. The girl nodded and joined in. Isn't it just that he touched tens of thousands of magic weapons at once, started the magic weapon trial, and then accidentally used the perfect level weapon intent, causing those weapon intents to crash and become useless. This old man won't let your brother Ye continue the trial. How stingy! Su Ye also cursed. Luo Qinghuan. The girl suddenly fell silent. Feeling somewhat guilty, he silently apologized to the great emperor. Stinky Su Ye. No wonder the great emperor doesn't let you take the trial. All right. Girl Luo, go ahead. Luo Qinghuan nodded slightly, raised her eyes, and looked at the 10 light balls in the hall. Soon her eyes fell on a dazzling light, in which the saint weapon looked like a sword. And at this moment, inside the main hall, everyone looked at each other, and no one chose to take the first step. Just at this moment, accompanied by the sound of light footsteps, suddenly, a graceful figure in a white dress walked towards a ball of light. That is Luo Qinghuan of Swanyan Holy Sect. Just now, Divine Maiden stopped her from going forward, but she still doesn't know whether to live or die. Didn't you see that even prodigy from the top 5 forces didn't dare to act so rashly? When they saw Luo Qinghuan actually took the initiative to walk towards a saint weapon light ball, many prodigy forces showed a hint of gloating, ready to watch a good show. Luo Qinghuan, what are you going to do? Divine Maiden frowned slightly. Take the saint weapon. The girl whispered. Puff. Still taking saint weapon. Just you. As soon as these words were spoken, there was a burst of laughter all around. Snort. Act recklessly. Han Feng crossed his arms, watched coldly, and smiled sarcastically. Hearing this, Phoenix Divine Maiden frowned, but chose not to say anything more. Now, everyone's eyes were on the girl. However, Luo Qinghuan ignored the gazes of the people around him, and just walked to the front of the saint weapon light, and then asked Su Ye in his mind, Su Ye, what should I do next? It's very simple. Touch the saint weapon to start the weapon trial. Suya said. The girl nodded slightly, then placed her jade hand on the ball of light. Moment. The light becomes brighter and brighter. The eyes of everyone around were also fixed on the girl. Girl Luo, here she comes. Just at this moment. In my mind. Suyi's reminder sounded. The girl didn't hesitate at all, and the profound weapon frost sword instantly appeared in her hand. Then, without any hesitation, she swung it behind her. Clang. The next moment, the sound of swords colliding suddenly rang out. A terrifying and sharp sword intent instantly spread out in all directions. At some point, a girl transformed by sword intent appeared behind the girl, staring at her with cold eyes, and the sword in her hand was blocked. Hiss! When did this appear? This senior sister from Xuanyan Saint sect reacts very quickly. When they saw this scene and heard the sound of swords, their faces suddenly changed, and they reacted belatedly. Although their eyes were always on Luo Qinghuan, they did not notice when the sword intent appeared. If it were them, they would have died under this sword long ago. What a quick response! Even Divine Maiden, Li Qingyang, and the prodigy of the 5 top forces, such as Wuji Third Prince, had a solemn look in their eyes when they saw this scene, and they felt that the girl in front of them was not simple. And at this moment, in the center of the hall, the sound of swords continued. The sharp sword intent itself was like a ghost, extremely mysterious, appearing at all kinds of tricky angles, with sharp sword strikes. If one was not careful, the sword intent would cut one in half. But, even with the sword's speed being as unpredictable as a ghost, the girl seemed to be able to predict it in advance every time and make the most perfect dodge. See this scene. Everyone in the hall looked extremely shocked. Is senior sister Luo from the Xuanyan Holy Sect cheating? However, what everyone doesn't know is, at this moment, in the girl's mind, Suya was lying leisurely on the recliner, with his legs crossed, giving instructions from time to time, as if everything was within his expectations. Girl Luo, on the left. Girl Luo, on the right. This time it's straight ahead, draw your sword faster. The girl listened to Suyi's words without any hesitation and chose to believe it 100%. A hint of sword intent flashed in her eyes, and the frost sword suddenly stabbed forward. Clang! A sword thrust out. It actually hit the body of the weapon directly, but it did not dissipate. Obviously, one attack didn't seem to be enough to end the trial. Good. Girl Luo, this weapon intent trial is actually to test whether your sword intent is perfect. Every move transformed by the weapon intent is your shortcoming, but if you fix the shortcomings and achieve perfection, the weapon intent will dissipate. In my mind. Suya said with a smile. I understand. The girl nodded slightly, then grasped the sword with an extremely serious expression. And next, the girl's sword intent's weaknesses were gradually discovered by him. Later, even without Suyi's instructions, she could keep up with the sharp sword intent and even gradually took the initiative to attack. Her sword intent seems to be getting more and more perfect. Could it be that this trial is actually to check for gaps and fill in the gaps? Only by reaching perfection can one be recognized by Saint Weapon. Hiss! Perfect realm, how is this possible? No one is perfect, let alone Ki. See this scene. The prodigy's faces changed drastically. But the next moment, when the sword intent gradually dissipated, it poured into the ball of light. When a Saint Weapon sword automatically fell into the girl's hands in the ball of light, they were instantly petrified. Etc. We were just shocked for a moment. You have achieved perfection? Did you open it? Junior sister Luo, congratulations! I didn't expect that you could pass the Saint Weapons test and successfully obtain the Saint Weapon. At this time, Han Feng was the first to react in the crowd. He glanced at the Saint Weapon in the girl's hand with a fiery and greedy look. Then he said with a smile. Junior sister Luo, this place is dangerous and you are not strong enough. Why don't you give the Saint Weapon to me first and I will keep it for you? They started snatching again. Suya raised his eyebrows. A kind smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Girl Luo, kill him. The girl pondered for a while, then looked at Han Feng's disgusting and hypocritical smile and nodded silently. Cut. Chapter 65. Junior sister Luo, since you are silent, I guess that means you have acquiesced, Right. Then I will keep it for you temporarily. When Han Feng saw the girl fall silent, he immediately smiled and walked over, staring at the saint weapon with burning eyes, and reached his hand directly into the girl's arms. Shameless. In my opinion, this guy said he was keeping it for safekeeping, but he might want to take the opportunity to take it for himself. I just saw that senior sister Luo looked like a good girl, and thought she was easy to bully. Seeing this scene, the surrounding monks prodigy all reprimanded Han Feng in their hearts for his shameless behavior. Phoenix Divine Maiden frowned. She wanted to say something, but this was after all an internal matter of the sect, so she just kept silent. Bring it on. Junior sister Luo, please give this saint weapon to me for the time being. Seeing Luo Qinghuan retreat without resistance, Han Feng's eyes showed a hint of success. He stretched out his big hand and was about to snatch the saint weapon from her arms. However, just at this moment, clang! The sound of a sword rang out. As a cold light flashed, the big hand that Han Feng stretched out was broken directly, and blood gushed out like a fountain. How fast! Even he himself didn't react. Ah! It took a long time. The intense pain brought Han Feng back to his senses. He looked at his severed hand and screamed in a cold sweat, Luo Qinghuan. What do you mean? I just wanted to help you keep the saint weapon, but you cut off my hand. See this scene. Even the prodigy present were stunned, looking at the well-behaved girl in astonishment. It seemed that he didn't expect Luo Qinghuan to take direct action. Saint weapon has recognized me as its master. It will automatically protect anyone who approaches with malicious intent. It's not my fault. The girl held a sword in her arms, parted her red lips, and spoke softly. What? Have you been recognized as your master? Hearing this, Han Feng's face changed, and he didn't even care about the injury on his broken hand. It has only been a short while since she first realized Saint Weapon, and already Saint Weapon has recognized her as its master? Hehe. Then it's indeed not junior sister Luo's fault. It is said that Han Feng is really a ruthless man. Even though his hand was chopped off, he still had a smile on his face. But, junior sister Luo, you see, I can't suffer this injury in vain. Junior sister, why don't you cancel the master relationship of this saint weapon and give it to senior brother? Anyway, with your talent, it shouldn't be a problem for you to comprehend another saint weapon, right? Remove saint weapon's recognition of its master. This guy is really ugly, but he has beautiful thoughts. Hearing Han Feng's words, Su Yat, who was in the soul container, hugged his arms and sneered. Forcibly removing the saint weapon's recognition of the master would hurt himself. Harming myself to benefit you? Is Han Feng out of his mind? Girl Luo, scold him using the words your brother Ye taught you. Oh. The girl nodded quickly and then looked at Han Feng. You want something? Su Yat. Han Feng was stunned when he heard the girl's words. Since senior brother Han Feng said that he doesn't blame me, why should I compensate you? The girl answered seriously. Han Feng. I was just being polite, but you really are not being polite? When did junior sister Luo become so eloquent? Hehe. Since junior sister Luo is unwilling, then I will have no choice but to sue the leader and force you to forcibly separate the saint weapon to compensate me for my losses. Han Feng sneered and simply stopped acting, with a sarcastic look on his face. BCHO. However, just when Han Feng thought Luo Qinghuan would be scared, the girl just nodded slightly as if it was no big deal. Junior sister Luo, what do you mean? Han Feng frowned, and when he saw the girl's indifferent expression, he suddenly became angry. He took a step forward, raised his hand and wanted to slap the girl. However, before he could finish his words. But suddenly, a cold light flashed, and the sword in the girl's arm seemed to move. The next moment, he just felt a warm sensation on his neck. What? As his vitality gradually returned, he finally reacted and his pupils suddenly shrank. He was killed by Luo Qinghuan's sword? Didn't you even see her movements? How is this possible? Isn't she a talented venerable realm 8-star? I am a 1-star in the creation realm. This woman is so insidious. As his vitality completely disappeared, Han Feng's eyes were filled with fear of Luo Qinghuan. It turned out that all he could see was what the girl wanted him to see. The girl's strength is not as simple as it seems. A powerful person in the creation realm was killed instantly. What's going on? This moment, when they saw Han Feng being stabbed in the throat by a sword, the faces of all the prodigy present changed. Even they did not see clearly how the girl drew her sword. Brother! I've already told you, don't get too close. This saint weapon just recognized its master and is very protective of him. See this scene. The girl looked harmless, her face wrinkled, and she stroked the saint weapon in her arms and sighed. Is it saint weapon? That's right. Everyone was stunned when they heard this. Was it really saint weapon who was protecting his master? Rest in peace. Brother. Luo Qinghuan sighed, came closer, and helped Han Feng close his eyes full of fear and unwillingness. However, no one noticed that Han Feng's cultivation origin and the power of his residual soul silently flowed into the girl's body. After all, it's murder. You have to kill them completely. This is just basic practice for a fierce wife and a bandit husband. Luo Qinghuan has completed a black transformation, reward, perfect level instrumental understanding. Do you want to invest? In my mind. The system sound continued to sound. Invest. Suya did not hesitate. He is already a perfect level weapon, what is the use of this understanding? Naturally, he has to invest in Luo Yetu. At this time, the system voice in my mind sounded again. The investment is complete. The host's own perfect level instrument will be sublimated. Oh! Has the perfect level instrument been upgraded? Hearing this, Suya smiled with satisfaction and continued. Girl Luo, your brother Ye has helped you improve some of your understanding. In addition to this saint weapon, you can also use your sudden enlightenment to subdue the other 9 saint weapons. Aha! Okay, the girl looked at the remaining 9 saint weapons, her beautiful eyes shining. If it were in the past, she might have hesitated and asked weakly, don't we need to leave it for other prodigy? But now, she just said. Of course, I have to leave it for these prodigy. Leave a picture of her beautiful back as she conquers all the saint weapons. Chapter 66. Is she planning to subdue other saint weapons? When they saw the girl suddenly put away the saint weapon in her arms and walk towards the remaining 9 great saint weapons in the hall, the prodigy in the hall instantly became uneasy. These 10 saint weapons represent different meanings. You are Sword Deo Transcendent, so you can suddenly realize the sword saint weapon, and they can understand that. But it's impossible that you know all the meanings of these 10 saint weapons, right? My junior sister from Swanyan Saint sect, aren't you being too greedy? A prodigy from a first-rate force frowned and couldn't help but look at Luo Qinghuan. Greedy? Brother, you are joking. This is just a position for those who are capable. Besides, I am not stopping you from realizing the saint weapon. The girl shook her head, ignored him, turned around and walked towards a ball of light. While walking, at the same time, he silently took out a large sack from the storage ring. Prodigy who saw this scene? And you said you weren't here to purchase goods? When the girl tried to sense the second saint weapon, the prodigy finally couldn't sit still anymore and started trying. Snort. Phoenix Divine Maiden snorted coldly, took a step forward, and tried to sense it. This junior sister from Swanyan Saint sect is really interesting. Li Qingyang from the Dan League smiled, shook his head, and tried to sense it. The 5 major prodigy forces each chose a saint weapon and began to sense. But soon, they frowned and found that saint weapon was as simple as they had imagined. So they sweated profusely and started to work seriously, trying to gain enlightenment on saint weapon. However, compared with the sweaty prodigy of the 5 powers, Luo Qinghuan seemed to be really here to purchase goods. Soon, with the perfect level of weapon comprehension, the girl comprehended the sword, gun, and other saint weapons one after another, and silently put them into the sack. Even the girl was also very polite. She also waited until these prodigy were tortured to death by the weapon and announced that they had given up, and then she would choose to make a move and have an epiphany. Then, in front of the confused expressions of the prodigy, she would easily put the saint weapon into the sack. Soon, even prodigy from the top 5 forces chose to give up on enlightenment. After all, it is almost impossible for them to reach the perfect level in such a short period of time. Only, when their eyes silently fell on the girl carrying the sack, the corners of their mouths twitched suddenly, as if this impossible thing was not completely impossible for junior sister Luo of the Swanyan Holy Sect. And at the same time, in Suyi's mind, the system voice kept ringing. Luo Qinghuan blade intent has reached perfection, and the host's perfect level blade intent has been sublimated. Luo Qinghuan's spear intention and weapon intention have reached perfection, and the host's perfect level spear intention has been sublimated. He was not surprised by this scene. The girl's talent is beyond the reach of these prodigies, not to mention that she can cheat. What can these prodigy do? Of the 10 saint weapons, only the last saint weapon furnace was left. Among the 5 top forces, only Li Qingyang from the Alchemy Alliance continued to persevere. Even the arrogant third prince Wuji had given up. Why? It's a very good saint weapon furnace, but unfortunately, it's not something I can tame. At this time, Li Qingyang took a look at the ball of light in front of him and couldn't help but sigh. Then he looked at the girl who had been waiting for a long time. His eyes inadvertently glanced at the large sack that the girl was carrying. The corners of his mouth twitched and his tone was a little helpless. "Junior sister Luo, please." "Thank you, brother Li." The girl smiled politely, then took a step forward. Under Li Qinjiang's shocked gaze, she pointed her little hand and the saint weapon furnace turned into a ball of light and flew into the sack. "Li Qingyang? I just put so much effort into this and there's no movement at all." Junior sister Luo just flicked her hand and the saint weapon furnace flew in? "How? Is it because my hands are not as pretty as junior sister Luo's?" Even the alchemy furnace can be subdued. Could it be that this junior sister Luo is also proficient in the art of pill refining? Li Qingyang frowned and couldn't help but guess. In this way, all 10 saint weapons in the hall were collected by the girl alone. That's all. It seems that I have no chance of getting saint weapon. I can only settle for the next best thing. After all, they are all divine weapons refined by the great emperor. Even profound weapon or treasure weapon will do. See this scene. The prodigy sighed. I didn't have any idea of robbing him. After all, just now Han Feng, who was in the creation realm, was inexplicably killed by a sword from the so-called saint weapon that protected his master. Now she has a few more saint weapons. If these saint weapons protect their master, they don't want to lose their lives without the saint weapons. After all, this is the secret realm. The thing they lack the least is magical weapons. Think of this. Some prodigy forces have quietly withdrawn from the hall, trying to find other magic weapons. However, the next moment. What the hell? Where's the divine weapon? The divine weapon has transformed into a place where not even a blade of grass can grow. How can it be so clean? Outside the main hall, shocked and confused voices continued to ring out. All the magic weapons are gone? Hearing the exclamations outside the hall, the prodigy inside the hall were stunned, and then their eyes involuntarily looked at the girl who was silently putting the sack into the storage ring. Could this be? This is a good thing done by junior sister Luo from the Swanyan Holy Sect, right? Cough. Looking at everyone's gaze, the girl turned her face slightly. Boom. Just as everyone was wondering how such an innocent girl could do such a brutal thing, a loud roar suddenly rang out in the hall as 10 balls of light dissipated. Just see. A skeleton sat on the hall, and next to the eerie white bones was a rusty broken sword. Could it be the corpse of the great emperor? Then could the thing next to him be an imperial weapon? When they saw the eerie white bones, everyone frowned, awe flashed in their eyes, and their gaze fell on the broken sword, and they couldn't help but guess. This can also be considered an imperial weapon. The broken sword was covered in rust, without any spirit chi at all. Even the weapon spirit that the great emperor was so proud of was gone. Snort. How could this be an imperial weapon? The third prince of the Wuji divine dynasty folded his arms and snorted coldly. The reason why an imperial weapon is called an imperial weapon is because it possesses the great emperor's power. Even if its owner has fallen, the imperial power contained in it will never dissipate. Not to mention. Or is it an imperial weapon forged by the great emperor? Hearing this, the 5 top forces around them, including Phoenix, Divine Maiden, and Prodigy, also nodded silently. After all, the 5 top forces all have imperial weapons, and they have the most say. It's that old guy indeed. Deep in the girl's soul, Su Yi's eyes fell on the bones above the hall. She couldn't help but sigh, then frowned slightly, but this sword. I don't think I've ever seen it before at the same time. The expressions in the eyes of the 3 prodigy in Jimo Valley became numb, and the gloomy demonic energy in their bodies began to communicate. Chapter 67. I can sense that there is a very familiar soul in that broken sword. I guess the old man's remaining soul is hiding in that broken sword. He, what's the point of hiding? Didn't I find him anyway? The sinister evil spirit in Fang Yuan's body said with a strange smile. It's time to catch all the fish that have slipped through the net. The sinister evil spirit in Ye Tianquan's body also echoed. What about these little guys around here? The sinister evil spirit in Song Hun's body frowned and asked. Of course we kill them. It's just right to devour them and replenish the original demonic energy. Although the other four major forces are a bit tricky, if we wipe them out, who would know it was us? He. The gloomy demonic energy in Fang Yuan's body responded without hesitation. Then do it. The three eerie demonic auras communicated briefly and made preparations immediately. At this moment, all the prodigy's attention was on the dry bones and the broken sword. No one noticed that wisps of terrifying demonic energy were emanating from the three people from GMO Valley, covering the entire hall. Ah! Fang Yuan, what are you doing? Just at this moment, a scream mixed with anger rang out. Everyone turned around suddenly. At some point, Prodigy of the Battle Heaven Palace had his chest pierced by a magic knife, and the man holding the magic knife was none other than Fang Yuan, Prodigy of the Extreme Demon Valley. What's going on? Why would Fang Yuan attack Li Fan? This Li Fan seems to be the newly appointed third Dao child of Zhangtian Palace. He became Dao child after Qin Tian died. Hiss. From this point of view, the position of the third Dao child of Zhangtian Palace seems a bit unlucky. See this scene. Everyone's face changed drastically, and their eyes were full of confusion. Fang Yuan, what do you mean? Li Qingyang frowned and looked at Fang Yuan. However, at this moment Fang Yuan's eyes had become extremely numb, his pupils were completely black, without even a bit of white in his eyes, his face was full of ferocity, black air was coming out of his body, and with a wave of his hand, Li Fan's body turned into a pool of black blood and was directly swallowed by him. Of course, I will refine you and make you my nourishment. He. With strange laughter. Fang Yuan's aura suddenly surged, and terrifying demonic energy instantly enveloped the entire hall. Behind him, one could even see a demonic shadow that was 100 feet tall standing there. At the same time, the two people beside him also had their auras emerging, and demonic energy was surging. Not good. Fang Yuan and the other two seemed to be possessed by evil spirits. Seeing this scene, the prodigy immediately realized that Fang Yuan and others were no longer the Fang Yuan they knew. Run! Want to run? He, you can just become the nutrients that help us restore the source of our demonic energy. Fang Yuan laughed strangely and waved his hand. The 100-foot-tall demon shadow behind him made the same move. Countless terrifying demonic energy instantly enveloped the entire hall, blocking all exits. There was Prodigy who refused to believe in evil and wanted to force his way out. But just by touching the evil energy, he was directly swallowed by it and turned into black blood. Seeing this scene, everyone's faces changed drastically. Even Prodigy from the 5 major forces, Phoenix, Divine, Maiden, had extremely ugly expressions on their faces. At this moment, Fang Yuan and the other two had already reached the Samsara realm, and they were constantly devouring Prodigy's flesh and blood to restore the source of their demonic energy. Their strength was even rising. So yet, what's going on? Seeing this scene, the girl frowned and quietly circulated spirit chi. No wonder I felt something was wrong with these people before. It turns out they are some rats hiding in the dark and afraid to see people. In my mind. Su Yi's eyes fell on the 3 people, and he couldn't help but sneered, "Don't panic, with your brother Ye here, these rats can't do anything to you." However, just as the screams continued in the hall, an old soul slowly emerged from the broken sword. He waved his hand and instantly dispelled the evil spirit. Then his eyes fell on Fang Yuan and the other two and sighed. "You guys! We were almost wiped out by So Kid, are you still stubborn now?" Chapter 68. Boom! When the broken sword came, an old sigh was heard. A gentle imperial majesty enveloped the hall. The prodigy, who had been desperately resisting the evil spirit, finally had a chance to breathe and quickly looked up at the hall. "That is, Great Emperor." When they saw the old soul suddenly appearing on the broken sword, the prodigy's pupils shrank and their eyes were filled with awe. I saw that the soul was extremely huge, 100 feet tall. The old man had pale hair, and his pupils were silver, as if a sharp sword was suspended in it. At this moment, Countless shadows of magical weapons appeared around him. All of them confirm the identity of the old man's remaining soul. It is the divine weapon, Great Emperor. Divine weapon, old thing. I knew you were not completely dead. As expected, there is still a trace of your soul left in the world. But it doesn't matter. Today, I will enslave your remaining soul and forge soul soldiers for my heavenly demon clan. There was black air coming out of Fang Yuan's body. After hearing the words of the Great Emperor, his expression became obviously very ugly. What? The one who possessed Fang and the others turned out to be the heavenly demon clan. Didn't they disappear tens of thousands of years ago? When I heard this, the third prince of the Wuji divine dynasty's expression suddenly changed, his face turned pale, and his eyes were full of fear. The heavenly demon clan. What is that? Some prodigy around who didn't understand immediately looked over. Tens of thousands of years ago, a darkness descended upon profound heaven continent. In this strange darkness, there emerged a warlike and bloodthirsty race called the heavenly demon clan. They came from darkness, born from darkness. This race is extremely talented and has extremely strong cultivation skills. In just a few thousand years, they have developed to an extremely terrifying scale. When the cultivators of the Tianxian 9 regions discovered them, they had already destroyed several top forces, devoured the cultivators' bodies, and refined their blood. They were truly evil. At that time, many great emperors joined forces to try to wipe out the heavenly demon clan. But they all returned empty-handed, and one great emperor even died because of it. For a time, the reputation of heavenly demon was known to everyone, and the entire 9 realms was extremely wary and terrified of him. The third prince Wuji took a deep breath and spoke slowly. What? It only takes 1,000 years to devour the top forces. Even the great emperor can't do anything to them. Hearing the words of the third prince Wuji, all the prodigy in the hall had a flash of deep fear in their eyes. Fortunately, this horrible tribe had gradually disappeared tens of thousands of years ago. Otherwise, with their terrifying cultivation speed, they might be able to enslave the entire Tianxian 9 regions in tens of thousands of years. But here comes the problem. Why did such a powerful ethnic group suddenly disappear? After all, even if all the great emperors join forces, they can't do anything to them. At the same time, not far away, the girl in the white dress was listening very seriously, with a strange light in her beautiful eyes, and she really wanted to know what would happen next. She had a vague feeling that the disappearance of this powerful demon race might be related to some bad guy. He seemed to know the doubts in everyone's mind. The third prince of the Wuji divine dynasty sighed, then said slowly with a serious expression, because the heavenly demon clan provoked someone. One person. Inside the main hall, the prodigy were obviously stunned, with a look of surprise in their eyes. No, not really. The great emperors joined forces, but they were unable to defeat the heavenly demons. One great emperor even died because of it. But the heavenly demons only provoked one person, and ended up with the decline of their tribe, and were almost wiped out. How is this possible? At first, I didn't believe it, but the records in the ancient books of my divine dynasty cannot be wrong. The third prince Wuji sighed. That person is the most brilliant great emperor of our human race, but also the most weird great emperor. He is known as the fierce great emperor. Wherever he goes, no grass grows. He is a headache for the strong men in the 9 regions of Tianxian. He even did a feat of robbing tens of thousands of monks by himself. He is a perfect gangster. However, before the ancient path to godhood came, the heavenly demon clan attacked the friends of the great emperor, which eventually angered the great emperor. So that being went straight into the heavenly demon clan alone, and while the 10 great emperors of the demon race were preparing to become the ancient gods, he slaughtered the entire heavenly demon clan, almost wiping them out. And on the ancient path to becoming a god, he fought against 9 tribulations demon emperors alone. Although he died, he also wiped out 7 demon emperors and severely injured the remaining 3. Speaking of this, the eyes of the third prince Wuji flickered with excitement. He fought against 9 tribulation demon emperors alone and wiped out 7 of them. No matter who it is, they can brag about it for the rest of their lives. Hiss. One person fought against the 9 tribulations demon emperors, killing 7 and injuring 3. Hearing this, the prodigy in the hall couldn't help but gasp loudly, their eyes filled with shock. They thought, how could such a fierce great emperor be called the most brilliant great emperor of the human race? But now it seems This is the answer. Throughout the ages, no great emperor has ever achieved such a brilliant record. 10 people fought against one and 7 of them were killed. Can you say that the terrifying demon race and 10 great emperors can't be played? No. All I can say is that the fierce bandit great emperor is so terrifying. So yet. They said, no. It can't be you now. In the main hall, there were stars twinkling in the girl's beautiful eyes. She felt a little excited and couldn't help asking Suya in her mind. To this, Suya just said lightly, basic operation, don't be silly. Snort. So what? Didn't he fall completely? And the 3 demon emperors of my heavenly demon clan are now in the Ascension God realm and have long since become demon gods. Fang Yuan snorted coldly. Although he said that he didn't care, his inner fear was reflected in his body. Thinking of the human race great emperor, his 100-foot-tall body was shaking. Then, he is still just a small Saint Lord level peak powerhouse. Even if we look at the entire 9 realms, although he is not the strongest, he at least has a say. As a result, that day the great emperor of the human race attacked the heavenly demon clan, and just one glance at him in the crowd, and his whole demon body exploded, leaving no room for resistance. Really, if you look at it for one more second, you will explode. If the master had not left him a remnant of soul, he would have been completely consumed by the great Dao. He. The great emperor just smiled proudly. He fought 10 people at once, and beheaded 7 old dogs. That was enough. Chapter 69. Hearing the indifferent laughter of the great emperor, the faces of Fang Yuan and the other 2 suddenly became extremely ugly. Although judging from the results, their heavenly demon clan won the victory and successfully killed the human race great emperor, but the price they paid was extremely painful. The heavenly demon clan was almost wiped out and disappeared for tens of thousands of years. Even the 10 demon emperors were killed, leaving only 3. It can be said to be extremely shameful. Snort. No matter how brilliant that being was, he eventually fell. Even his body was chopped into countless pieces by the Lord, and even his soul was tied to the devil's flames and burned. It burned for 10,000 years before it was extinguished. Fang Yuan laughed ferociously. However, but he didn't notice. In the hall below, when the girl heard this, a cold look flashed in her beautiful eyes and she subconsciously clenched her fists. It turns out that my soul was tied to the devil's flame and burned for tens of thousands of years. No wonder it took me so long to be reborn. Suya frowned slightly, but he didn't bear a grudge at all for what those old dogs did to him. Fine. Anyway, when his body is reshaped, he will visit in person and express his gratitude. Luo girl, why are you silent? He raised his eyebrows and noticed that the girl's expression suddenly turned cold. He was stunned for a moment. It was the first time he saw such a cold look in the girl's eyes. They did this to you. I will avenge you. The girl gritted her teeth, looking serious. Hearing this, Suya was stunned for a moment, a little warmth emerged in his heart, and then he smiled kindly, don't worry, your brother Ye will not let those old dogs go. The girl nodded heavily, rubbing her hands together, looking eager to try. He. After that being fell, aren't you, his close friends, living a more miserable life than the others? How much better off than us, the heavenly demon clan? Aren't some dead, some escaped, and some were injured? After so many years, my heavenly demon clan has gradually regrouped. The first thing we will do is to wipe out everything that Guy cares about. I'll start with you, the remnant soul that's already dead and still alive. Fang Yuan laughed strangely. As soon as these words came out, a cold look flashed in Su Yi's eyes deep in the girl's soul. Really? Back then, you 3 were just little ants that were killed instantly by So Kid. Do you really think you can do it just because you have the power of those old dogs? Even though this remnant of my soul is extremely weak, I will completely wipe out the 3 of you today. The divine weapon Great Emperor roared, and then the imperial power emerged from his huge soul body. With a wave of his hand, countless divine weapons emerged from behind and continuously attacked the 3 demon bodies. Snort. Old man Shenbing, your weapon forging skills may be unmatched, but if we really talk about combat power, I'm afraid you're only the weakest in Heavenly Palace, right? Seeing these divine soldiers all over the sky, there was no fear in the eyes of the 3 demons, Fang Yuan. They snorted coldly, and the demonic energy on their bodies continued to surge, and they went straight towards the divine soldiers in the sky. See this scene. The prodigy in the hall all looked unhappy and tried to dodge, but they found that there was no way to hide. Their eyes were filled with despair. After all, this was once the battle of the great emperor. Even if the strength is not as good as before. But if you are affected, you will probably end up dying with hatred. However, just at this moment, the great emperor's phantom waved his hand, and a gentle power of the great emperor instantly enveloped everyone present. God! Divine weapon Great Emperor Senior! For a moment, all the prodigy were stunned. Besides being moved, their eyes were filled with awe as they looked at the old shadow. He may be among you. Even if the probability is 1 in a billion, I still believe that he is still alive. Just hide away with peace of mind. The great emperor sighed, and then urged the godly soldiers of the sky. Girl Luo, let your brother Ye go on board at the same time. Su Ye also murmured softly. The girl nodded slightly. However, at this moment, an extremely gentle power of the great emperor suddenly emerged and flowed through the girl, as if to stop him from taking action. What does this old man of divine weapons want to do? Su Ye frowned. Boom! Boom! At this moment, the divine weapon had already collided with the surging demonic energy. Click! 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 One divine weapon after another was broken. Seeing this scene, the great emperor was deeply saddened. No matter how strong or weak these divine weapons were, they were all forged by him personally with one hammer after another, and they were all his hard work. What a pity! As time goes by, he is no longer as strong as he used to be, and these magical weapons also fell with him, and are no longer as powerful as they used to be. He. You old man, do you still think that guy is alive? Ha ha ha, what a joke, what a joke. The body was shattered into pieces, and the soul burned for 10,000 years. Even if a god came, he would definitely die and would not be able to be reborn. The same goes for him. Whatever. Since you, old man, miss him so much, after I have enslaved this remnant of your soul, I will take you to see the magic pillar that is burning with the magic flame of his soul. He. Fang Yuan laughed out loud. Then, it was at this moment that the three demons began to mobilize their demonic energy. For a moment, countless divine weapons in the sky were shattered. Although the three demons were not as good as the great emperor in the past, they are now a different person and have even been blessed with the magic energy of the Lord Demon. Now, with only a wisp of residual soul left like a candle flickering in the wind, the great emperor will not be their opponent. The magic wheel is spinning. Fang Yuan and the other two shouted loudly, and the demonic energy in the hands of the 100-foot demon body behind them condensed and directly transformed into 3 sharp rotating demon blade wheels, which fiercely attacked the divine weapon Great Emperor. Divine Shield. Seeing this, the Great Emperor frowned, and swung his old hand violently. Countless phantoms of divine weapons gathered behind him, forming a thick shield to block in front of him. Bang! Break! However, the demonic energy in the magic wheels of Fang Yuan and the other two was terrifying. With just one strike, a huge crack appeared on the shield of the magic weapon, and finally the shield was shattered and fell on the body of the magic weapon Great Emperor. Great Emperor Senior! Senior! See this scene. The prodigy's faces changed drastically. So yet, seeing this scene, Luo Qinghuan was also very anxious, with worry all over her face. Girl Luo, leave it to your brother yet. Su Yi's eyes were full of murderous intent, and he didn't care about the gentle imperial power of the great emperor who was trying to stop him from taking action. I can't just watch my old friend's soul being enslaved and never be reborn. Ahem, hee. I didn't expect that those 3 old dogs really hate so boy. They are willing to lend you a wisp of demonic energy even at the risk of being discovered. Haha. However, at this time, the great emperor of the divine weapon had a bitter look on his face as he sat on the throne. Final. His gaze slowly fell on the broken sword. In that case, then this old man can only use the last thing that So Kid left behind. He sighed softly. What? That thing that exists. As soon as these words came out, the faces of Fang Yuan and the other two changed drastically. They were extremely fearful and did not dare to act rashly. What did I leave behind? Su Ye was stunned, his eyes fell on the broken sword. Why didn't he remember what he had left behind? Why? It's a pity that I can't use this power in my current state. I can lend it to others temporarily. The great emperor sighed. I. Senior, choose me, I can do it. As soon as these words came out, the eyes of the prodigy around suddenly lit up, and they immediately raised their hands and volunteered. The great emperor swept his old eyes across the crowd and finally landed on the girl in the white dress in the crowd. Little girl, I see that you have the qualities of an old friend. I wonder if you can use this sword that I never had time to give to my old friend to kill all these demon race villains. I'd like to inform everyone that I have changed the system. It was originally a blackened heroine training system, but now it has been changed to a blackened investment system. The function is as follows: under the influence of the host, Luo Qinghuan can get rewards every time he blackens. The rewards can be invested or not. If you invest in the heroine, you will get stronger rewards. Because this makes the system easier to write, and it is also convenient for naming when testing books. In order to avoid being starved to death, I can only change it this way. But don't worry, there are no changes to the previous plot. Except 19, 20, and 21. Originally, Suya modified the technique, and Luo Qinghuan still learned it, but it felt too aggrieved, so it was changed to Luo Qinghuan refusing to practice, and Suya showing his divine power in front of others. If you are interested, you can go back and read it. It doesn't matter if you don't read it, it doesn't affect the plot. The main reason is that these chapters discouraged many readers, so I need to revise it. Chapter 70. When the great emperor finished speaking, his gentle old eyes fell on the girl in the white dress, and all the prodigy who were fighting for it in the hall were stunned for a moment and looked over. Ah! What about me, Ovo? When the girl felt everyone's gaze, she was obviously stunned for a moment, and a blush appeared on her pretty face. Why choose her? Why don't you leave this opportunity for us to show off? Besides, if we have to bear the power of the great emperor, shouldn't we choose the one with the highest realm and the strongest strength? Why would we choose her? Seeing this scene, the prodigy cast envious and incomprehensible glances. Oh! The great emperor of the divine weapon became an emperor through the power of weapons. She alone can instantly comprehend 10 saint weapons. Can you do it? Phoenix Divine Maiden folded her arms and sneered. Prodigy. As soon as these words were spoken, they immediately lost their temper. Never mind 10. Even with a saint weapon, they couldn't do it. So yet, what to do? At this time, the girl finally came back to her senses from the downtime, and hurriedly asked Suya in a low voice deep in her soul. It's okay, girl Luo, let your brother Ye go on board. Suya shook his head slightly. It just so happened that he also wanted to see what the old man Shenbing said was the last thing he left behind. Yet, the girl nodded obediently. Then, no one noticed that the girl's originally gentle eyes suddenly changed and became cold and calm. The great emperor's huge soul waved his hand, and the rusty broken sword next to the withered bones appeared in his hand. He looked at the broken sword and sighed. This sword should be considered the most powerful divine weapon forged by this old man. This is the strongest. The prodigy took one look at the broken sword and were stunned. This broken sword is covered in rust and is not even complete. It does not even have a trace of weapon spirit. How can it be called the most powerful magic weapon forged by him? It's a pity that the boy left in a hurry, and I couldn't give him the sword in the end. If my forging skills had been stronger, perhaps I could have helped that kid in that terrifying imperial battle on the ancient road to becoming a god. The great emperor sighed, his tone full of self-blame. Then, he waved his hand, and the broken sword flew in front of Luo Qinghuan. Girl, I see you have the bearing of an old friend. This broken sword contains a ray of the original power of my old friend. His original intention was to leave it to us for self-protection, but I feel that such a demon as that boy will definitely not die so easily. So, this power was preserved. Even in death, I never used it. I just thought that maybe this power could be returned to its original owner in the future. The great emperor sighed, his eyes always on Luo Qinghuan. In the eyes of everyone, the great emperor looked like he was talking to an old friend he had known for a long time. However, Fang Yuan and the other two did not dare to make any move. They could only look at the broken sword with fear in their eyes and were forced to listen. After all, the fear that existence brought to them was indelible and deeply engraved in their souls. The power of origin. Suya frowned, raised his hand, held the broken sword in his hand, and immediately felt an extremely familiar breath. Suddenly, he understood what this so-called power was. Before entering the ancient road to deification, he was concerned about his old friends and gave them a ray of his own original power, intending to use it to help them protect themselves, but he did not expect that the great emperor had never thought of using this power even before his death. But I just feel that he won't die easily. This original power can still help him. This stubborn old man is about to die, why is he still worrying about what others are doing? Although Su Yi's words were a rebuke, the corners of his mouth couldn't be suppressed. Have such friends. My previous life was not lived in vain. And a certain little soul in a white dress deep in the soul had already burst into tears. Wivu, the great emperor is such a good person. Wivu. Alright. Girl, feel the power of this broken sword with your heart. Don't worry. I will also lend you a helping hand. The great emperor took a deep breath and his expression gradually became solemn. Immediately. In the eyes of everyone. The girl nodded coldly, stretched out her jade hand and held the broken sword in her hand. Can she do it? The broken sword contains the power of the most brilliant great emperor of the human race. Seeing this scene, all the prodigy in the hall suddenly became nervous. After all, their life and death were in the hands of the girl at this moment. Once the remaining soul of the great emperor was enslaved, they would not be able to escape the fate of being devoured. Feelings. However, under the tense gazes of the crowd, Su Yi just raised the corners of his mouth slightly. This power originally belonged to him, so why should he feel it with his heart? No. Is it possible if you want it? Boom. As he grasped the hilt of the broken sword. The next moment, a dazzling light emanated from the broken sword, and a terrifying force directly poured into its body. A deathly aura enveloped the entire hall. Hiss. Can she feel the power of that being just after she touched it? Senior Sister Luo is so amazing. A burst of power. Prodigy, who was worried that the girl couldn't feel the power, suddenly had an expression that became extremely interesting. FK. Isn't this FG too smooth? To be frank, Senior Sister Luo felt the power of that being more easily than I poop. Fellow deist, your words are too rude, aren't they? For a while. The prodigy in the hall breathed a sigh of relief. Since Luo Qinghuan could feel the power of that being, they still had a chance to survive. Ha ha ha. Little girl, I was right about you. You really have the demeanor of an old friend. I'm here to help you. The great emperor laughed loudly, then his body turned into a ray of light and rushed directly into the broken sword. What? What kind of aura is this? Could it be that person? The faces of Fang Yuan and the other two changed drastically, their eyes were filled with fear, they could even feel that the familiar fear deep in their souls was being awakened. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. That guy has been dead for tens of thousands of years. Even if his power still exists today, it wouldn't be that strong. Moreover, it's just a little girl using it, so it can't bring out its power. Don't panic. Fang Yuan was the first to calm down, with demonic energy surging in his body, and he quickly spoke to the two people beside him. We must complete the task assigned by the master today. Song Hun and Ye Tiansheng looked at each other and nodded heavily. Really? However, when she heard what Fang Yuan and the other two said, the girl's red lips slightly lifted up, and a thrilling smile appeared on her beautiful face. Others play? Isn't this a coincidence? What they thought was someone else, turned out to be the power itself. Chapter 71. As the girl's cold voice fell, a beautiful smile appeared on her pretty face. The next moment, boom, the light from the broken sword in his hand became brighter and brighter. Suddenly, an extremely huge and majestic figure appeared behind the girl. The figure was dressed in black and seemed to be standing between heaven and earth. It was a pity that his face could not be seen clearly. In other words, given the strength of the people present, they are not worthy of seeing his true appearance. Could this be the fierce great emperor? When they saw the tall and mighty figure behind the girl, the faces of the prodigy present suddenly changed. Even though it was just a phantom formed by the source of power, it made them feel a suffocating sense of oppression. Is this Stinky Su yet? Deep in the soul. The little soul in the white dress looked towards the tall and majestic figure in black, and there seemed to be stars twinkling in her beautiful eyes. How is that possible? How can a little girl like you awaken the original power of that being? This moment, the three of Fang Yuan were finally no longer so calm, their faces changed drastically, their eyes were filled with fear, and even their souls were shaking constantly. Escape! Escape first! We must report this matter to the Lord first. The three demons didn't even have the courage to fight him, so they made a quick decision and ran away first. After all, the three of them were killed instantly just by a glance from the fierce bandit great emperor not far away. How could they have the courage to fight him now? Want to escape? Seeing this, the girl just smiled slightly, and when she raised her hand, the tall and majestic figure in black behind her also made the same movement, raised a palm, and slammed it down towards the three demons. With one palm strike, it was as if the world was destroyed, enough to make everything return to silence. No. See this scene. The fear in the eyes of the three demons Fang Yuan became more and more intense. Knowing that they could not escape, they decided to fight to the death and each used their strongest means. The magic wheel is spinning. Blood sacrifice heavenly demon. Demonic blood blade. The demonic energy is surging and powerful. But see this. The girl's face remained extremely calm, so calm that there was not a single ripple, and she raised her jade hand and pressed it down heavily. Struggling is futile. Boom. With that one palm strike, no matter how strong your evil spirit is or how desperate you fight, you will all be destroyed. The three huge demon bodies of 100 feet in length disappeared in an instant. Only 3 tiny souls were left trying to escape, but unfortunately they could not escape Su Yi's eyes. He caught them with a wave of his hand and used the immortal soul technique to devour them. Now, the hall seemed to be plunged into deathly silence. The prodigies' faces were filled with horror. No one expected that the 3 demons who had just forced the great emperor to a near-death situation would be reduced to ashes by just one palm from the young girl. So strong. The prodigy swallowed. Is this the power of the fierce great emperor? Even after falling for tens of thousands of years, the trace of original power left behind is so powerful. It was still cool when he was the great emperor now. Su Yi couldn't help but sigh. When he was the great emperor, if he disliked someone, he would just slap them in the face and feel relieved. How is it? Girl Luo, your brother Ye is strong, right? Su Yi glanced at the little soul in the white dress that was in a state of shutdown again in the depths of its soul, and couldn't help but raise the corners of his mouth slightly and said. The little soul in the white dress nodded its head frantically. Boom. Sudden. Just at this moment, an angry roar resounded through the sky. An invisible terrifying force actually tore the space of secret realm apart and forcefully descended here. At this moment, the entire desolate sky realm could hear that roar. As if a demon god was born. Who is it? Who dares to hurt my people? For a moment, when the roar sounded, the entire desolate sky realm suddenly became like a pot that had exploded, and cultivators from many forces fell into panic. The 5 top forces were the first to detect this terrifying aura that did not belong to the 9 realms. The lord of the Wuji divine dynasty frowned and looked towards the sky. He was originally sitting in Zhongzhou, closest to the secret realm of the divine weapon. Naturally, he was the first to feel this terrifying aura, and his expression immediately became extremely solemn. This breath is demon god. How could the aura of the devil from the upper realm descend upon Zhongzhou? At the same time, a beautiful woman in palace dress in Tai Shang Wangqing Palace frowned slightly and looked towards the sky. In the Zhantian Palace, the strong men in the Dan Alliance were all watching. In the Extreme Demon Valley, when the Extreme Demon Valley Lord felt this breath, his expression became extremely excited. This is the breath of the Lord. Could it be that the Lord is coming to pick me up? However, just when all the strong men in the desolate sky realm changed their faces and looked solemn, suddenly, in the border of Zhongzhou in the desolate sky region, a tall figure in black stood between heaven and earth. When it appeared, the leaders of various forces who were waiting around the secret realm of the divine weapon changed their faces drastically. They felt a terrifying pressure all of a sudden and were directly suppressed to the point of being unable to breathe. Hiss! What's going on? Why am I sweating profusely while waiting? This figure is. At the same time, the leaders of the 5 top forces also saw the tall figure, and their brows were immediately frowned, with deep fear in their eyes. Even they couldn't see through this majestic figure? Who in this small 9 regions dares to hurt our people? In the sky, the angry demonic voice resounded, as if the projection of the demon god would descend in the next moment. However, at this moment, it suddenly saw the tall and majestic figure in black standing in Zhongzhou, and its body trembled immediately. What? You? How come you're still alive? This is impossible. The next moment, as those incredible and shocking words were spoken, the demonic shadow disappeared without a trace, and the sky returned to calm again, as if nothing had happened. The forces in the desolate sky territory who saw this scene. This is... Run away? The demon god just took a look and ran away? What is the origin of that tall and majestic figure? Extreme Demon Valley Master. Your master has withdrawn a demon projection. Who is that? At the same time, the lord of the Wuji divine dynasty, who was closest to the secret realm of the divine weapon, was stunned for a moment. He seemed to see a small figure under the tall figure. That is... a young girl? Divine weapon secret realm. I didn't expect that this old dog would still be so timid even after becoming a god. As the tall figure disappeared, Suya glanced at the sky and couldn't help but sneered. The demon god phantom just now should be one of the 3 surviving demon emperors. It seems that they are doing well in the upper realm? Otherwise, why can they so casually release the demon god phantom towards the 9 realms? But, after all this trouble, they probably won't dare to descend upon the demon's phantom at will. Give you some more free and happy days. When your brother Ye goes to the upper realm, it will be the end of you old dogs. Chapter 72. Just now, what was that, now? Inside the secret realm, everyone was in deathly silence. They just felt a terrifying surge of demonic energy, and an extremely huge shadow crushed the space of the secret realm of the magic weapon, as if it would descend here in the next moment. But when everyone felt extremely scared, the evil spirit suddenly disappeared. Could it be? Is it because of that person too? The prodigy in the hall were still frightened and couldn't help but look at the girl in the white dress. At this time, the terrifying aura on the girl had dissipated, and the huge and majestic figure behind her also gradually disappeared. Hiss! Just now, senior sister Luo borrowed the power of that person so skillfully, it was as if the great emperor himself had come. Looking at the cold and aloof girl, and thinking about how she had just slapped 3 demons to death, everyone sighed. Haha! Little girl, you really have the demeanor of an old friend. At this time, the great emperor's old laughter sounded, and as the light on the broken sword faded, his huge shadow emerged from the broken sword, looking at the girl in the white dress with a big laugh. Thank you for the compliment, senior. The girl blushed and said weakly. At this time, Suya had already logged off, returning control of her body to her. I wonder what sect you are from, girl? What's your name? The great emperor's gaze fell on the girl. Replying to the senior, I am Luo Qinghuan, a disciple of Xuanyan Saint sect. The girl quickly replied in a low voice. Luo Qinghuan. Nice name, haha. The great emperor laughed loudly and then asked, then I wonder if Qinghuan is willing to have a drink with me? After tens of thousands of years of waiting, I finally met the right person. After these words were spoken, all the prodigy present were stunned for a moment, and then looked at the girl with eyes full of envy. It was obvious that the great emperor's words were to pass on the true inheritance of the secret realm to senior sister Yu Luo. For tens of thousands of years, there has not been a prodigy that can satisfy the great emperor. Now, has it finally appeared? Hearing this, the girl nodded, then hesitated, her face wrinkled. Senior Shenbing, can I just have one drink? She can't hold her liquor. She was afraid of getting drunk and talking nonsense, and being laughed at by the stinky Suyat. Haha! You don't have to drink it. The great emperor laughed. His original intention was not to drink. Then he looked at the prodigy and said, okay, little guys, you should get out. After saying, the great emperor waved his hand, and light instantly enveloped Divine Maiden and other prodigy, directly sending them out of the secret realm. At the same time, when prodigy appeared, the leaders of the forces waiting outside the secret realm immediately looked over. This. What exactly happened in the secret realm? Seeing the prodigy appear, a group of strong team leaders looked over and asked. However, before Huang Divine Maiden and others could explain, an old voice suddenly sounded. The voice seemed to be announcing to everyone. I am the great emperor of the divine weapon. I have decided to pass on my inheritance to Luo Qinghuan of the Xuanyan Holy Sect. This inheritance contains my imperial power. Anyone who dares to snatch it can try the power of my extreme imperial power. The great emperor's words were undoubtedly meant to protect Luo Qinghuan and prevent her from being remembered by others. After all, even if he didn't say it, Everyone will also know that the inheritance of the magical weapon Great Emperor was taken away by Luo Qinghuan. Only when he says that the inheritance contains the ultimate power of the Emperor, and that it is used by someone who is not recognized by him, it will trigger the ultimate power of the Emperor, and then others will be afraid of it. What? It turned out that a disciple of the first-rate Xuanyan holy sect had obtained the inheritance of the divine weapon Great Emperor. Even the prodigy of the 5 major forces ended in failure. Hiss! Who exactly is this Luo Qinghuan? Also, how come there are so many missing prodigy after entering the secret realm? Even the 3 great geniuses of the extreme demon valley are nowhere to be seen. For a while, after hearing the words of the Great Emperor, everyone's face changed drastically, their eyes filled with astonishment. Qinghuan girl obtained the inheritance of the Great Emperor's magic weapon. The Xianming Supreme Elder was stunned, his eyes full of disbelief. Phoenix Divine Maiden, what is going on? An old woman from the Supreme Palace of Forgetfulness frowned and looked at the Phoenix Divine Maiden in a red dress in confusion and asked hurriedly. Great Elder, it is like this. Phoenix Divine Maiden folded her arms across her chest and told everyone what had happened in the secret realm. Wait until her voice gradually fades away. Everyone present had a changed expression. What? The legendary Heavenly Demon Clan possessed the 3 prodigy of the extreme Demon Valley. With the help of the divine weapon Great Emperor, Luo Qinghuan can comprehend the power of the fierce bandit Great Emperor and kill the 3 demons. When the 4 words Great Emperor sounded, everyone present had a changed face and a solemn expression. They had naturally heard of the reputation of the Great Emperor, the most brilliant person of the human race tens of thousands of years ago. But no one expected it. The girl could actually sense the original power of that existence. Ha ha ha! I never thought that my Xuanyan Holy Church could produce such a prodigy. Supreme Elder Xianming laughed heartily and was in a very good mood. Han Feng in the underworld, so did I die in vain? At the same time, in the secret realm of the magic weapon, the Great Emperor waved his hand, and the scene around him began to change. The original hall had disappeared, and a secluded courtyard appeared in front of the 2. There is a stone table in the courtyard. There are also 2 wine glasses on the table. Only, the Great Emperor, however, had turned the wine into tea. Come, Qinghuan girl, sit down. The Great Emperor waved his hand and poured a cup of tea for the girl like an ordinary old man. Thank you, senior. The girl sat obediently, held the teacup with both hands, and took a sip. Suddenly a faint fragrance lingers between the lips and teeth. It's delicious. A gleam of light flashed in the girl's beautiful eyes. Haha! You are indeed very similar to that boy. You both like to drink the refreshing tea that I brew. The Great Emperor smiled. Do I look a lot like Zhou Su yet? The girl blinked her beautiful eyes and then pouting. Not really. Not at all. That bad guy bullied her every day, but she didn't bully Su yet. Oh, right. Luo Qinghuan seemed to have thought of something, put down the teacup, and looked at the Great Emperor with beautiful eyes. Senior always said that I have the appearance of an old friend, I wonder where it is. This one. The Great Emperor hesitated for a moment. Then he pointed to the storage ring on the girl's jade hand. If I'm not mistaken, your storage ring should contain all the magic weapons in my secret realm, right? When that kid first met me, he was just like you, and he treated me as a place to buy goods. Hearing this, the girl's pretty face turned red, and she felt a little embarrassed. Alas, it's a pity that the brat was so stubborn and insisted on going to fight those 10 great emperors. I told him not to go, but he wouldn't listen. The Great Emperor sighed. The old man of divine weapons. You just prepared 2 cups. What? Aren't you planning to treat me, your old friend, to a drink? However, just at this moment, in the courtyard, a young man's joking voice suddenly sounded. The Great Emperor was stunned and looked at the girl. The girl covered her mouth and shook her head. Not me. The next moment, behind the girl, a dark soul slowly emerged, looking at the Great Emperor with a smile. You. Is it so, boy? This moment, when he saw the dark soul, the Great Emperor was stunned, and his old eyes suddenly became extremely moist. Chapter 73. Although the soul in front of him seemed like a chaos and his appearance could not be seen clearly, the extremely familiar voice and the breath proved that this person was the old friend he had been waiting for many years. The most brilliant great emperor of the human race tens of thousands of years ago. The fierce great emperor, So yet. Ha ha, ha 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 ha. I knew it. I knew that you kid must not be dead. The great emperor laughed wildly, his tone full of joy, and his eyes became more and more moist. Oh! How do you know I'm not dead? Suya smiled and looked at the divine weapon great emperor. As the saying goes, a disaster will leave a bad reputation for 10,000 years. For someone like you who has brought disaster to the 9 regions, let alone 10,000 years of bad reputation, even 100,000 years or 1,000,000 years would be considered a minimum. The great emperor laughed. A disaster for the 9 realms. Hearing this, Suya raised his eyebrows and shook his head with a smile. How can this be considered a disaster to the 9 realms? Borrowing their treasures is just to help them practice more diligently. You kid. The great emperor shook his head. Then why did you go to the divine pill hall and rob them of the divine pill that they had just made? Their pill refining technique is too rubbish. Brother Yet, please help them improve it. So what does it mean that after you perfect it, you sell it to them at a high price? Handling fee. Suya said lightly. Puff. The girl couldn't help but smile as she listened to the 2 people bickering, and she drank her tea obediently while holding the cup. By the way, so boy. What's going on? How did you come out of this little girl's body? The great emperor couldn't argue with him, so he became serious and changed the subject. He looked at the well-behaved girl beside him and couldn't help but frown slightly. What is your current state? It's a long story. Luo Yetu and I should be in a state of 1 body with 2 souls now. I can take over her body. I was the one who killed the 3 demons just now. Suya didn't explain much, just kept it short. I see. I also wondered how this girl could comprehend your power so quickly. The great emperor suddenly realized, then he frowned and said in a deep voice, 2 souls share 1 body? Then you can go find your senior sister Mu, maybe she can help you rebuild your body. Senior sister Mu. Suya one sigh. The figure of a gentle woman slowly emerged in my mind. Mu Wangking. The strongest person in pill refining besides him in Heavenly Palace. When he migrated here, he joined a sect called Heavenly Palace after some hard work. Unlike other sects, Heavenly Palace only had dozens of people. And because he is the youngest, everyone calls him the junior brother. The senior brothers and sisters in Heavenly Palace were extremely kind to him, and they were all family members to him who had migrated to another world. Don't they have ascension? Suya frowned. On the ancient road to becoming a god tens of thousands of years ago, he, who was a demon, was the only one who reached the 9th level of the Great Emperor. Some old friends, including the Divine Great Emperor, only had 1 Great Emperor tribulation. With each Great Emperor tribulation, the gap in strength was as huge as a ravine. Once they entered the ancient path to becoming a god, it would be difficult for them to get out. Therefore, in the end, among the old friends, only Suya went alone, and eventually died in the ancient road fighting against 10 demon emperors. But it has been tens of thousands of years. They should have all reached the 9th level of Great Emperor and entered the ancient path to godhood. But from what the Great Emperor said, it seems that the brothers and sisters from Heavenly Palace did not ascend to the upper realm. Could it be that something went wrong? Think of this. Suya couldn't help but feel a little worried. And the next words of the Great Emperor made him frown even more. The ancient path to becoming a god. They went there. But, they all left the ancient road halfway. What? Leaving halfway? Suya was stunned for a moment, frowning. The consequences of leaving the ancient road to becoming a god halfway are huge. Once you give up halfway, not only will you have to bear the terrifying cause and effect of the Great Dao, but even your cultivation and lifespan will be greatly damaged. The most important thing is that once you give up, you will never be able to ascend to the upper realm and defeat the emperor to become a god. Ascension to God. It has always been the ultimate goal of all the monks in profound heaven continent. Those who can enter the ancient road to deification have almost 1 foot on the ultimate goal, but he did not expect that his senior brothers and sisters in Heavenly Palace would choose to give up halfway. Could it be? At this time, Suyi's face changed, and he suddenly understood something. The great emperor sighed and said, in the tens of thousands of years since you fell, the people of Heavenly Palace have never stopped looking for a way to revive you. They all have your original power in their hands. As long as they can find a trace of your residual soul, they may have a chance. And you perished on the ancient path to deification. Your remaining soul is destined to be scattered on the ancient path to deification. Therefore, Whenever the ancient path to godhood is opened, a person will walk out of heavenly palace, step onto the path to godhood, bear the consequences, and leave halfway. Not to become a god, but just to find a remnant soul in the ancient road and bring back their little brother. Hearing this, Suya froze in place for a moment, his expression extremely complicated. Wivu Suya, your senior brothers and sisters are all fine. Aside. The girl was so moved that she burst into tears. Hate. Who puts a knife in someone's tea? It's a pity, those 3 old dogs killed your soul completely in the Ascension Upper Realm, and the people of Heavenly Palace never gained anything. The great emperor sighed. Suya was stunned for a long time before he came to his senses. This friendship. It's really too heavy. By the way, old man Shenbing, you haven't entered the ancient path to becoming a god, have you? At this time. Suya frowned, his eyes fixed on the white-haired old man in front of him. Hee. What? Do you look down on me? I am also a great emperor after all. The great emperor stroked his white beard and laughed freely. I am old now, and those guys from Heavenly Palace were still young. How could I watch them suffer the consequences and suffer a great loss of their lives? So. After your death, the first person to enter the ancient path to godhood was me. Suya was silent again. Now it seems that it all makes sense. He also said that the great emperor of the divine weapon was a powerful great emperor with a lot of lifespan, and because of his forging skills, he had many friends, and almost no one in the 9 realms would attack him. How could it possibly fall? Turn out to be. It was this old man who was the first to enter the ancient path to becoming a god, to search for the remaining souls, and to bear the consequences. His already limited lifespan was greatly damaged, resulting in his premature death. Old man with divine weapons. Suya frowned. Haha. Why are you being so sentimental? This is not like you, Su. The great emperor smiled carefreely, and then his eyes fell on Suya. I didn't have much time left. It's better to die a good death than to die early or late. At least. I know, you are not dead. That's right. What did the demon possessed by Fang Yuan just now mean when he said that some would die, some would escape, and some would be injured? Suya thought of something and asked hurriedly. The heavenly palace is now in ruins. Hearing Suyi's words, the great emperor sighed, and then slowly explained. After your death, the 3 great demon emperors ascended to the upper realm. With their help, the heavenly demon clan that was originally exterminated by you also had a chance to breathe and revive again. The people at Heavenly Palace who saw this scene naturally couldn't just sit back and watch. But they left the ancient path to godhood halfway, and not only did their own cultivation suffer, but they also had to bear the consequences of the great Dao. Over time, they naturally could not be the opponents of the heavenly demon clan, which had the help of the demon gods from the upper realms, and the heavenly palace gradually declined. So the people of Heavenly Palace are scattered across the 9 realms, hiding, waiting for the opportunity to revive you. And the heavenly demon clan also has its own forces in the 9 regions, and their goal is to wipe out all the remnants of the Heavenly Palace. Chapter 74. When the great emperor finished speaking, Suyi's face had already become extremely gloomy, and his eyes were full of murderous intent. This heavenly demon clan is so annoying. Luo Qinghuan standing aside frowned, a hint of frost appeared on her pretty face. It's not annoying. Suya shook his head and corrected, they already have a way to die. The girl nodded seriously and waved her little fist fiercely, don't worry, Suya. I will practice hard to help you, and also help Senior Shenbing and the seniors of Heavenly Palace to avenge. They already have a way to die. No, they clearly have a way to be reborn. We are the good people if we send them to the afterlife. The way to rebirth. Aside. Upon hearing this, the great emperor couldn't help but look dazed. He seemed to see the shadow of the former bandit Suziazi in the well-behaved and lovely girl in front of him. 4 words flashed through his mind. A fierce wife and a bandit husband. The great emperor's mouth curled up slightly. Tens of thousands of years ago, a fierce bandit named Great Emperor made the heavenly demon clan suffer. Who could have thought that tens of thousands of years later, the bandit Great Emperor not only survived, but also trained a female bandit. He seemed to be able to see the scene in the future when the 2 of them joined forces and the heavenly demon clan suffered. Unfortunately, he couldn't see it with his own eyes after all. So kid, I don't have much time left. Now that you are here, this source of power and this most powerful magic weapon forged by me will be returned to its original owner. The great emperor waved his hand, and the broken sword appeared on the stone table. This remnant of his soul has persisted for so long. He just wanted to see if there was one prodigy among these thousands of prodigy who was his reincarnation. Only. After tens of thousands of years of waiting, the old friend did not reincarnate. But waiting for the old friend to come. Thanks, old man Shen Bing. Su Yi's tone has never been so solemn. Then. He did not say anything more, but just took back the original power in the broken sword. This magic weapon will be given to Luo girl first. If she masters it, I can use it too. Besides, my body has not been reshaped yet. Even if I have the original power and find senior sister Mu, it will be difficult to reshape it. The system said. Only after accumulating enough blackened value and filling the small pagoda deep in the soul, can the body be reshaped. Obviously. Reshaping the body is not as simple as it seems. Hearing this, the great emperor frowned, but didn't say much. I didn't expect that Su's body would be so difficult to reshape. Old man with divine weapons, please help me protect the law. I will absorb the original power. Su Ye said nothing more, sat cross-legged and began to absorb the original power that belonged to him. The debt of gratitude owed to the great emperor and the people of Heavenly Palace is too great. It can no longer be expressed in words. What he had to do was simple. Return to the top, become stronger, and destroy the whole clan with nuclear goodness. As well as some of the causes and effects caused by him must naturally be eliminated by him. You kid, do you really treat me like a servant? The great emperor cursed with a smile, but he did not stop the action in his hand. With a wave of his hand, the terrifying imperial power enveloped Su Yi's dark soul to protect it. Seeing this, Luo Qinghuan, who was standing by, immediately came over stealthily. Qinghuan girl, you are probably trying to find out about Su's deeds, aren't you? I saw the girl coming over. The great emperor smiled knowingly. The girl nodded frantically immediately. This one. The great emperor smiled, and then told Su Ye everything that had happened. Listening to Su Yi's past deeds, the look in the girl's beautiful eyes became brighter. That's right. Senior Shen Bing. At this moment, Luo Qinghuan thought of something. Her beautiful eyes fell on Su Yi's dark soul sitting cross-legged. She hesitated for a moment, then bit her red lips and asked, "Is Su Ye handsome?" After her saying, the girl seemed to realize that there was something wrong with asking this question, and hurriedly explained. Senior Shen Bing, don't think too much. I'm just curious. Su Ye says he's handsome every day. I'm just curious. After her saying, the girl's face turned red. All right. Even she herself didn't believe this feeble explanation. I understand, Qinghuan girl. The great emperor laughed. Then he spoke slowly. Su was known as the most handsome man in the 9 regions back then. Although I don't want to admit it, I have to say that even when I was young, I was not as handsome as him. The fact that a man can admit that another man is handsome is enough to prove that Su Ye is really handsome. Back then, not to mention the darling of heaven, even the saintess of the great sacred lands, the empress of the divine dynasty, etc. were all admirers of this boy. Tisk tisk, he was really lucky. Speaking of this, the divine soldiers and the great emperor all sighed with envy. Snort. A playboy. The girl pouted and snorted. Not really. The great emperor smiled and shook his head. Young Su always refuses. This bad guy will refuse. The girl blinked her beautiful eyes. Su Ye, this bad guy, bullied her every day and took advantage of her in various ways. He was simply a pervert. If those saintess empresses pursued him, would he refuse? Certainly. The great emperor smiled and nodded. Young Master Su said that if we become Taoist partners with them, we won't be able to rob their sex with a legitimate reason. Luo Qinghuan. This is very Su Ye. So, what does Su Ye look like? Senior, can you show me the portrait? This one. You should wait until this kid rebuilds his body, and then you can see it with your own eyes, haha. The great emperor laughed. Then, hand the broken sword on the stone table to the girl. I have not had time to give this sword to Su, so I will give it to you, little girl, for safekeeping. Me. Hearing this, the girl hesitated. After all, this is the magic weapon forged by Senior Divine Weapon for Zhou Su Ye. Take it, girl. The great emperor smiled. If Soy Boy trusts you, then I will trust you without hesitation. Thank you, senior. The girl nodded slightly, without hesitation, and took the broken sword. Don't look at this sword as tattered as it is. It just hasn't recognized its master. Girl, if you use your heart to feel the sword's intention in your body, its shape will change. The great emperor explained. Alright. You should also start to feel it. The girl nodded slightly, sat beside Suye holding the broken sword, then closed her eyes and began to comprehend. The great emperor looked at the two people who were in seclusion and took a sip of tea. Then he looked at his own figure which was gradually fading away and chuckled, with them here, the future of the 9 realms should be very exciting, right? Chapter 75. At this moment, Suye had no idea what was happening in the outside world. He was still absorbing a trace of his own original power. Although tens of thousands of years have passed and this strand of original power is no longer as strong as it used to be, it is at least his own power and can help him get back to his peak. I didn't expect that this strand of original power actually contained the power of the law that I had realized before. Suye murmured, looking at this dark source of power, he could vaguely feel the cold breath in it. This is the laws of heaven and earth, the breath of death. Immediately, Suye did not hesitate any longer and chose to swallow up the breath of death. By the way, he also swallowed up all the souls of the 3 demons that had just been swallowed by the immortal soul technique. It was a pity that the souls of these 3 demons were not strong, and their strength was all given by the demon god. The host has devoured his own origin and has mastered the power of the law of death. The host devoured the soul, and the soul realm was once again improved. The current realm is, Great Power Realm 2 stars. Accompanied by the system voice in my mind. Suye's eyes flashed with joy, and he murmured, in my last life, I barely touched the threshold of the laws of heaven and earth when I reached the Emperor realm. I didn't expect that I would master the power of the law of death so quickly in this life. If he could recover the rest of the original power, his strength would only become stronger. It seems that in addition to investing in slowly turning Luo Yetu into a villain, he has another goal. That is to find the brothers and sisters who used to be in Heavenly Palace, find back the original power, and help them eliminate the great Dao cause and effect caused by him. Call. Suye took a deep breath and slowly opened his eyes. Then he saw a girl holding a broken sword with her eyes closed. Finished absorbing it. When he opened his eyes, the great emperor, the divine soldier beside him, immediately looked over at him. Suye nodded. So kid, it's best not to show your soul so easily. At this time, the great emperor solemnly reminded, you are not the same as you were back then. If those 3 old dogs knew that you are not dead, they would definitely wipe you out at all costs. Yes, I know. Suye nodded slightly. Of course he knows. But he would not just sit there and wait for death. Since those 3 old dogs wanted to extend the heavenly demon clan's hands to all parts of the 9 regions and hunt down his senior brothers and sisters, he would chop off all those hands bit by bit. Alright. Once Qinghuan has comprehended this magical weapon, you can leave. But you seem to have a damaged imperial weapon in your hand? While I still have my last breath, give it to me and I will help you repair it. The great emperor glanced at Suye and said with a smile. Kunlun mirror. Suye just remembered at this time, isn't there a powerful being here who can repair the broken Kunlun mirror? Without hesitation, he took out the Kunlun mirror and handed it to the great emperor. At the same time, upper bound. Demonic divine domain. What? Third brother, are you saying that guy is not dead? How is this possible? In the hall, demonic energy was surging, and 3 huge shadows of demons stood there. After hearing what one of the demon gods said, the other 2 demon gods frowned and looked at the demon god who was scared away by Suye's glance. I don't know. But I saw a tall figure dressed in black. I will never forget the fear that came from my soul. That figure was definitely him. The 3 demons said in a deep voice with an extremely ugly look on their faces. As for whether he is dead or not, I don't know. As soon as these words came out, there was deathly silence in the hall. After dozens of seconds, the other 2 demon gods spoke slowly. Whether it's true or not, we should take it seriously. Notify my heavenly demon clan in the 9 realms to keep a close eye on this matter. If that guy really has reincarnation, he must be eliminated at all costs. Obviously. The fear that Suye left in them could not be erased from their hearts even after they became gods. Divine Weapon Secret Realm. Alright. Suya, I have repaired this imperial weapon for you. As for its effects, you can slowly explore them in the future. As the light on the Kunlun mirror dissipated, the magic weapon Great Emperor returned it to Suya. Thanks, old man Shenbing. Suya took it and chuckled at the Great Emperor. Just when he was about to take a look at the function of this repaired Kunlun mirror, he suddenly saw the broken sword in the girl's arms shining with bright golden light, and he could even faintly hear the roar of a dragon. It looks like Qinghuan girl is about to end her life. See this scene? The Great Emperor smiled. Could this sword be the legendary divine sword Long Yuan? Old man Shenbing, have you forged it? Suya took a look at the magic weapon in the girl's arms, which was shining with golden light and had the faint sound of a dragon's roar, and was stunned for a moment. It was just a fluke. The Great Emperor smiled kindly. Didn't you say that there was a demon dragon bullying you in the Silent Sea? So I went to the Silent Sea with your great master brother, pulled out the dragon's tendons and bones, and made it into a sword. Suya. That's what happened at the beginning. At that time, he was only in the Samsara realm, while the dragon was already at the Emperor realm. When he arrived at the Emperor realm, he wanted to take revenge, but he didn't find the dragon. Could it be that it had already been forged into a sword by the Great Emperor? However, my ability is limited, and I have not forged it into a true divine weapon. It is only a semi-divine weapon. However, it has a characteristic, that is, the stronger its master is, the stronger the Dragon Abyss sword will be. I hope you and this girl can make the Dragon Wrath sword famous throughout Tianqian. The Great Emperor smiled and began to say his final goodbyes. Alright. So kid, this last bit of my soul can't hold on any longer, so I won't wait for this little girl to die, lest she be sad. Anyway, knowing that you are still alive, my greatest wish has been fulfilled. After my soul dissipates, this secret realm can still hold on for a while. Bye now. The words fell. The Great Emperor smiled and waved at Suya, and then his soul gradually turned into countless golden light points and slowly dissipated. Seeing this scene, Suya remained silent and just watched silently. Suya. Senior Shenbing, I'm fine. When the girl opened her eyes and couldn't wait to show the Long Yuan sword to the two men, she found that except for Suya, the old man's figure had disappeared in the courtyard in front of her. She was stunned for a moment. Suya. Where is Senior Shenbing? The girl was stunned for a moment. Although she had the answer in her mind, she still couldn't help asking. The last remnant of the old man's soul has dissipated. Suya said calmly. The girl fell silent, her eyes gradually becoming moist. But at this time, Suya said again, and he raised his hand, with a wisp of golden aura emerging from his hand. This old man has preserved my original power for tens of thousands of years, so it's not too much for me to preserve a wisp of his soul power, right? If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you are notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.